2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Live from the police show, yet not overly ostentatious studios of the Infinity Sports Network here in beautiful New York City, sitting on top of the 10th floor, 345 Hudson Street. Welcome on in to a busy Tuesday edition of the Zach Gelb Show across all great local Infinity Sports Network affiliates, Sirius XM, channel 375, the free Odyssey app, and of course, streaming live on YouTube. 855-212-4227 is the number to jump on in. That's 855-212-4227. You could always get at me on Instagram, where I'm straight flexing, or via the good old cesspool of Twitter at Zach Gelb. That's ZACHGELB. NBA on TV reporter Jared Greenberg going to stop by 20 minutes from now. You got somewhat of a big game tonight between the Los Angeles Lakers and the Dallas Mavericks, so we'll get a little feel of everything happening in the NBA with Jared Greenberg. And then live from Indianapolis at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific time, longtime Pittsburgh Steelers reporter, national NFL reporter for the Pat McAfee Show, Mark Cabali is going to join us. We'll get the lay of the land on the Pittsburgh Steelers, and also we will take a look at what's happening from Indianapolis for the Combine. So a whole lot to do today. And we're going to start off with some football. And no, this is not just fulfilling the national quota to talk about the drama Dallas choking Cowboys, but you have all these executives and you have all these general managers and all these coaches that do speak from the NFL Combine. And right, if we played you like Joe Shane or Eric DeCosta or Andrew Berry or Andy Reid or Jason Light, it would be expected. But anytime we are starting out the show with an owner, well, it's because the drama Dallas choking Cowboys are owned by Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones, and they're also part of the personnel department. Because, right, like you look at New England, Robert Kraft is the owner, and he may be involved in some football decisions, but he leaves that up to Elliott Wolf and Mike Vrabel. That's what typical organizations do. But the Dallas Cowboys are not like everybody else. They are truly one of one. So at least if you're talking about making steps in the right direction and you're improving and trying to be different if you're Jerry Jones, at least Jerry Jones wasn't the one that gave the viral quote. Baby steps. But his protege, his son, Stephen Jones, last year, right, we had Jerry Jones say the Cowboys are all in. And then you famously had Skip Bayless tweet out, all in. Gotta pause, comma. And he's then went on to say, my ass. I also saw Skip Bayless the other day. He ditched the Dak Prescott jersey. For a guy that's made a lot of money, I always find it funny whenever Skip Bayless does this old, tired, played-out skit where he storms right into his kitchen, and it's a very small kitchen that he has. For a guy that makes millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars, you would think he would have a wider and bigger kitchen. But he always opens up the trash can, and it's one of those step-on trash cans. You would think, right, Skip Bayless, right, would have a nice bougie trash can where he'd kind of be waving his hand over it. And he throws the Dak Prescott jersey in there. Well, the last time he did this bit, I guess, right, no longer with Fox, now his independent kind of podcast, I guess you could call it, he needs to be able to shine in a new way. So the way that Skip Bayless recently got clicks was putting on a Jalen Hurts jersey, and he hates the Eagles, and he was saying, fly, Eagles, fly. So anyway, we digress from Skip Bayless and from also Jerry Jones and from the all-in comments, and we know that Skip Bayless said all-in, comma, pause, my ass. Well, Stephen Jones has a new offseason approach for the drama Dallas choking Cowboys as the entire NFL world is in Indianapolis. Well, besides Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. We'll get to that story coming up in the later with our pal Grant Cohn, who that is the gift that keeps on giving. But here is Stephen Jones laying out the drama Dallas choking Cowboys offseason approach.
We're going to look at everything we can. We're going to be selectively aggressive. We obviously, there's things in this league you have to, you have certain amount of resources they allow you to have, and we'll look at that, but we're going to try to improve our football team. Not try, we're going to improve our football team, and we expect to have success next year.
So 2024, the Dallas Cowboys. What was their slogan? All in. Survey says, the 2025 drama Dallas choking Cowboys will be selectively aggressive. Play that one more time, Stu, because it's kind of a tongue twister and it doesn't flow as well as all in. Give it to me one more time.
We're going to look at everything we can. We're going to be selectively aggressive. We obviously, there's things in this league you have to, you have certain amount of resources they allow you to have, and we'll look at that, but we're going to try to improve our football team. Not try, we're going to improve our football team, and we expect to have success next year.
So you kind of heard the truth of that answer. Even though last year we all laughed when the Cowboys told you they were going to be all in and you knew that that was a joke, the moment when free agency officially did begin and the new league year did begin and Dak Prescott didn't have a new contract. Because if you recall, going back to last year, the Cowboys really needed to get that Dak deal done before free agency and the new league year did open so they could allocate those dollars around with this massive cap hit and you could actually put yourself in position to be all in. Except the Cowboys, drama, waited. And then the Sunday of week one, they wanted to take over all the headlines and write all the big talking shows that happened on Fox and CBS and eventually on NBC later that night. And they ended up saying, okay, we agreed to a new deal with Dak Prescott. So that wasn't smart. That wasn't actually being all in. But last year, you could at least appreciate the commitment to the bit by the Cowboys, even though they were lying right through their teeth, by saying, yeah, we're going to be all in. And everyone's like, yeah, I see what you're doing, Jerry Jones. This year, I think saying you're going to be selectively aggressive is actually worse. Because that comes off to me as very passive, as very ambiguous. And you have a way and you have an out because saying you're going to be selectively aggressive, we don't really know what the plan is. And when I hear Stephen Jones, he even caught himself in the messaging that he was trying to say when he goes, we're going to try to improve. Oh, wait, no, actually, we are going to improve. Well, like, we are going to improve sounds more like all in. We're going to try to improve sounds like someone that will be selectively aggressive.
Selectively aggressive.
It kind of goes back to when I first, sought out to lose all this weight. And I could say to myself, yeah, I want to lose this weight. But then if I go into my home when no one's looking and I make a bunch of chicken nuggets, and then after I have chicken nuggets, I open up the tub of ice cream and I scoop out like 4 huge scoops of ice cream and then put whipped cream and M&Ms and sprinkles and chocolate chips. And don't forget those cookie dough bites. Are you really trying to lose weight? Yeah, I may be saying I'm trying to lose weight, but the actions don't reflect that. And that's what the Dallas Cowboys are. They're going to be selectively aggressive in trying to build their roster. They're trying to go win a Lombardi. They're trying to go improve their team. But are you really? Or are you like the fat guy that says, I'm going to lose weight, and when no one's looking, even though you went to the gym for about 15 minutes and you talked on your cell phone and you talked to the person next to you, and then you maybe did a few pedals on the bike, the moment you got back to your apartment, you were like, French fries, chicken fingers. You know what? Oh, there's some old bologna in the fridge. Let's fry it up. Let's get some white bread. Let's put some Russian dressing on that. You know what? And then I need a little dessert. I'm getting a sweet tooth. So let's make the cookies, throw maybe a little something special in those cookies. And then, let's make an ice cream sandwich with cookies and something special in there. So I'll take out 2 scoops of Rocky Road. Like, what are you actually trying to do, folks? And that's where I think the Cowboys are stuck. They have already identified who they have paid and who they're going to pay. They already paid Dak Prescott. They already paid CeeDee Lamb. Last year, there were a ton of injuries, and it was only good enough for the Cowboys to win 7 games where, let's be real, with all the injuries that they suffered, it wasn't as if I looked at the drama Dallas choking Cowboys and I was embarrassed for them last year. They've had a lot more embarrassing seasons, but when you just go to the playoffs 3 years in a row and you have 12 wins 3 years in a row, and then you regress all the way down to 7-10, it is something where people look at it and you go, okay, that's a failure of a season. If you don't look at it with any context. But with the injuries that they suffered, them going 7-10, where I thought they were going to be midway through the year, wasn't the worst thing in the world. Now, don't get me wrong. We're still putting lipstick on a pig when I say that. The Cowboys still had a piggish year last year, but they were able to give some good efforts. They fought for McCarthy, who's no longer there, and they made a season that was, many of us thought, was a disaster, and I told you they were going to miss the playoffs going back to the offseason, into, okay, it was a decent effort. But when you pay Dak Prescott $60 million a year, CeeDee Lamb's a top 5 wide receiver and you pay him his money. And let's be real, I've never felt more confident in saying a player's going to get paid by the Cowboys than Micah Parsons. Because that's the player Jerry Jones loves. Talented, $1 million smile, makes a ton of headlines, and every single year, right, double-digit sack guy. Like Jerry Jones is going to pay Micah Parsons and then some, because Micah Parsons not only gets how to play well on the field, but off the field, he's everything that is about what Jerry Jones wants from a drama Dallas choking Cowboy. So those are the 3 really big players of this franchise. 2 are paid, 1 isn't, 1 will get paid. But outside of that, what do you really got? Like, Trayvon Diggs has been up and down in terms of being able to be on the field. He gets a lot of interceptions, but I wouldn't say he's this great football player. Zach Martin just retired. At the running back position, you brought in Ezekiel Elliott last year, and that was old man Ezekiel Elliott. But the Cowboys do sit there with a good draft pick, right? Because of their record. They're sitting there, I think, with the 12th overall pick in the draft. So you could get someone that could go help your team. But the direction of the Cowboys, it's one where it's really directionless right now. And what I mean by that is they're 7-10. They haven't been to an NFC Championship game or a Super Bowl since the 1995 season. You've already called your shot on paying your quarterback, paying your star wide receiver. You're going to pay your edge rusher, but the rest of the roster has a lot left to desire. And also you brought in a coach in Brian Schottenheimer who's been there, but no other team in the NFL, and he's been around for a long time, would say, oh, I'm going to make Brian Schottenheimer my head coach. Like maybe this was 2008, 2009, 2010. That'd be different, right? When Schotty was up for some head coaching jobs. But in the year of 2025, there's only one team, one, that would hire Brian Schottenheimer, and it's the Dallas Cowboys. So even though I just laid out this picture for you, and right, it's muddy, it's ugly, it doesn't seem to be all that positive, I do think the Cowboys, because they'll probably be healthier this year, and right, they're going to be selectively aggressive, so they'll slightly improve the roster, but it's not as if they're going to go be making big move after big move. I do think the Cowboys will be slightly better. Like if I look at the Cowboys this year and you say, Zach, give me a win range, I think it's as low as 7, repeating what they did last year, and probably as high as 10. But in like reality, I think they're going to be an 8 or a 9-win football team. And if you tell me they go 10-7 to make the postseason, I wouldn't be shocked. Because Dak is still a top 15 quarterback in the league. Michael Parsons, a top 5 pass rusher in the league. And now how he defines it, I don't know, but I'll define it how I want to define it. And CeeDee Lamb is a top 5 wide receiver in this league. Now, those are good starting pieces. The rest of the roster, the other 50 players, they need a lot of work. But you look at their schedule, Carolina, Chicago, the Giants, the Eagles, the Commanders, the Packers, Minnesota, Arizona, Kansas City, the Chargers, the Broncos, the Lions, the Raiders. Obviously, you double up with the division games, Giants, Eagles, and Commanders again, and they play the Jets. Like, can you find 8 or 9 wins there? And division games, right, even though the Commanders are in a better spot, even though the Eagles are in a better spot, the Eagles and Commanders aren't going to beat the Cowboys 4 times. It's just not going to happen. Like, the Cowboys, they should be able to take one from the Eagles. They should be able to take one from the Commanders. And you know what? You should probably beat the Giants twice. So even if I'm wrong on one of those, like, you're at least getting 3 wins in the division. And then after that, it's up to you to find 6 to 7 more wins on the roster, on the schedule, to get you in that avenue of 9 or 10 wins, and that puts you in the playoff picture. And I do think the Cowboys could do that. But the Cowboys saying they're selectively aggressive is just not on brand for the way Jerry Jones runs his organization. And with that being said, I think it's very cautious. I think it's very vague. And I think you'll get the Cowboys be slightly better. But if you think that, hey, Zach, are they closer to the 7-win team from last year or the 12-win team that would always lose in the postseason that we've seen for 3 straight years up until this year, I would say they're probably closer to the 7-win team. But I don't think it will be actually 7 wins. I think you'll probably get 8 or 9 wins. And then, you smack it right in the middle if it ends up getting to 10. That's where I think that the Cowboys are kind of going to right now. And that's a spot where if I'm a Cowboys fan, I'm saying, all right, what are we really doing? Like, the Eagles are clearly better. The Commanders are clearly better. And right now, the Cowboys are sitting there with a great young pass rusher, a great young wide receiver, a quarterback who is, top 12 in the NFL. You can make the case top 10, but you're paying him as if he's a top 5 quarterback in the league. He actually has the highest paid average annual value. And you have called your shots, but what is it heading towards? It's heading towards mediocrity. It's heading towards, I don't want to say being irrelevant because we always talk about the Cowboys, but in the landscape of actually winning, yeah, you're stuck in a terrible place because you're not as bad as being a top 5 pick and getting a franchise-altering player, but you could still get someone that's good in the draft in your draft position, but you're nowhere close to actually going on a run and being a team that's surprising people and being in an NFC championship game. All righty, this is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We'll take a break. We'll do some second-half NBA storylines when we come on back with Jared Greenberg, who does a great job, NBA on TNT, NBA on TV, NBA TV reporter as well. So we will get all that with Jared Greenberg when we come on back. And obviously, we will touch on the Luka showdown tonight up against his former team out in La La Land. Jared Greenberg joins us next. Zach Gelb Show, Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Zach Gelb Show.
Alrighty, welcome back in. It is the Zach Gelb Show, coast to coast on the Infinity Sports Network. Got a lot of NBA tonight, but coming up on TNT at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, you get Luka Doncic going up against his old team, the Dallas Mavericks. Still bizarre to say. That game happening, of course, in Los Angeles at Crypto.com Arena. Now joining us, NBA on TNT Reporter. You could also catch him NBA TV, and that is our pal Jared Greenberg. Jared, always appreciate the time. Thanks for joining us. How you been?
Great, Zach. How are you, man?
Well, I've been fantastic. So it's been about a month since this Luka deal kind of came out of nowhere and surprised us all. I don't think I've ever been more stunned by a trade, and still 20-something days later, even though I've seen Luka play games and play well for the Lakers, I still don't feel like it's real, Jared.
Does it stun you that Luka is no longer on the Mavs, or does it stun you that the return that the Mavs got back for Luka? What surprises you the most?
I would say it's the return or the lack of it, and also what I like to say was the ego of Nico Harrison, because I keep on trying to figure out why this happened, and I really do believe that there was some issue with Nico and Luka, and Nico didn't think that Luka fit that team well, and he was out of shape and all that stuff. And to give him away is one thing, but to give him away for that little in return is another.
Well, I'll disagree with you from the standpoint of the return. I think we're making a big deal about this because we are enamored in society today with draft picks and cap space and the sense of hope. I got to be honest, you could say what you want about Anthony Davis, and I am first in line to criticize Anthony Davis for a whole bunch of stuff. But you can't tell me that 5 first-round picks, you have no idea where those picks are going to land. You have no idea who's going to be in those draft classes as of now is better than a guy like Anthony Davis, who went on the court as a top 10 player in the NBA. So for me, for these people who want to go out there and say, oh, he should have gotten 5 first-round picks, that would have been better. No, it wouldn't have. I can understand not wanting to trade Luka. I get that aspect of it. But I will also say this. A deal of that magnitude, a deal like we've never seen before, does not happen without ownership sign-off. And I don't know anything more than has been reported, but I would say this. Let's pump the brakes on Nico Harrison when we're talking about a deal of this magnitude, because there's got to be, whether it's initiated or signed off on, ownership has something to do with a deal like this.
Fair enough. And if Cuban still had the majority share, I think Cuban would have prevented this from happening, right?
Oh, 100%. Yes.
Yeah. So here's the other thing, just to respond about what you said, Jared Greenberg. I agree with you. Anthony Davis, and you said it when he's on the court, is a top 10 player in the league. That's where the disconnect is for me. I understand wanting Anthony Davis a part of this deal, but if a big reason why I think they got rid of Luka is they were concerned about his future, right? The weight issue, all right, maybe some of the partying and stuff that goes on. What good is it to trade Luka Doncic for Anthony Davis, who I understand played a full season last year, but already in and out of the lineup for the Mavericks?
Yeah, it's convenient now because he's out of the lineup, and that obviously sucks and does not make the Mavericks look very good. But as you said, recent history has shown us Anthony Davis has played a whole lot of ball games. And with him, at least from a reputation standpoint, there's not this concern about him being in shape or being available. I think, a lot of the issue with Luka is there's a guy here in Luka Doncic, and let this season play out. And I'm not predicting anything. I'm certainly not hoping for anything. But I think the thinking in Dallas is this is a guy with all the other stuff that you mentioned who has injured the same left calf 4 times in 4 years. That is not a coincidence. And I just think it all adds up, and there's probably a lot that we don't know yet. But let this season play out, and let's see where it goes. And Dallas may be totally wrong. Like, the Lakers may go on and win a championship this year, right? They win a championship this year. This is the worst thing that's ever happened in Dallas sports. And there's been a lot of bad things that have happened in Dallas sports recently.
Yeah, we just opened up the show talking about the Cowboys. So Jared Greenberg here with us. So what do you think, right? You saw what they're capable of, Luka and LeBron going up against the Nuggets the other night, and that's one of the better teams in the league, a team that won a championship a few years ago with Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray. Together, Luka and LeBron this year, do you think a championship is realistic?
I don't this year, only because I think, forgetting momentarily about what happened last night to Oklahoma City, which was an anomaly. The Thunder are head and shoulders the best team in the Western Conference. They might be the best team in basketball. And I think that there are 6 other teams in the Western Conference that have a shot to get to the Western Conference Finals. That includes the Lakers. They are one of the 6. But there is a guarantee. There is a lock. If there's anything that I would bet my mortgage on, that I would bet my child's future on, it is that the Oklahoma City Thunder will be one of the 2 teams in the Western Conference Finals this year. And now we got 6 other teams with a whole bunch of parity that are fighting to be that second team.
When we also look at the rest of the West, I agree with you. I love OKC. I hope this is the year. And I think everyone looks at SGA and they say he's a top 5 player in the league. But then there's having moments in the postseason and going on a long run, and it takes you to a different level. I'm curious about a team like Memphis, right? We know all that happened with Ja a few years ago. Then he had the injury when he came back last year. Now they've kind of got back into form. They're 37 and 20. When you look at Memphis, is Memphis just a nice regular season story? Or can you see them being a big threat come postseason time?
Yeah, they're one of the 6 other teams that I would put in that category. I feel like all of these teams have massive flaws. None of them have been able to distinguish or separate themselves from the pack at this point, other than Oklahoma City. I think they're more of a nice regular season story. I don't see this, what they're using right now to win in the postseason. I also think that there's more star power on other teams that tend to tip the scales come playoffs. Denver has that. The Lakers certainly have that. The Warriors have that. And the team that I'm really intrigued by, which may not be ready to win at that level yet, but is the Houston Rockets. I think they're a team that potentially could tip the scales a little more than a team like Memphis.
You know, you brought up Golden State. It's funny. 3-4 weeks ago, if you would have said to me that Golden State could go on a run and get hot, I'd be like, yeah, I just don't see it. Now they get Jimmy Butler, and it seems like that group got to see the prize once again, and now they're a little bit extra motivated.
It's so crazy because if you just look at the numbers, Andrew Wiggins is having a better season than Jimmy Butler, and you say they play the same position, they're both two-way guys. Andrew Wiggins is providing us more. Well, no, it goes beyond the numbers. You're right. There's a contagious nature of Jimmy Butler. It's rubbing off defensively. You're seeing, and even if it's just optics, and even if it's just the honeymoon phase that they're in, guys are diving for loose balls a little more. There seems to be a little extra effort. And the other part of this here, which is massive, 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 the Warriors over the last couple of years have been among the worst free throw shooting teams in basketball. Not just percentage, but getting to the line. That's with the greatest free throw shooter in the history of the game on their team in Steph Curry. The rest of the team and Steph Curry doesn't get to the line that often. He's just really efficient. Now, all of a sudden, they're getting to the free throw line. They're being efficient at the line. So they're getting easier baskets, easier points that was so hard to come by for this team. They were fighting, clawing, and scratching for baskets before this Jimmy Butler era, that now life has become a little bit easier, and you could see why they're winning these games.
Jared Greenberg here with us. Hey, getting back to the Lakers-Mavericks game tonight. I think it would have been totally different if it was in Dallas, and also if AD was playing. Like, the atmosphere tonight, I get it, right? It's a storyline. Luka going up against his old team. But, like, Lakers fans should be on cloud 9 right now. They got a guy to go make another run with LeBron, and also they have what I think is life after LeBron. So I think there's a lot, right, to talk about. But when you get into the atmosphere of that building tonight, I'd be curious what it's going to be.
Yeah, I think tonight it'll be electric. It's always a sense of electricity in that building to begin with the stars and the star power on the court. But you're right, April 9th is the real date where hopefully Anthony Davis is healthy. Hopefully Luka Doncic is still healthy. April 9th, Lakers at Dallas. That's the game to circle, no question. Tonight will be fun. But I agree with you. Listen, and I'm, again, not trying to minimize what the Lakers potentially could do, because I think there is a path for them to get to the West Finals and potentially maybe stun the world and get to the NBA Finals. There is that path this year. But the bigger story, I think what Rob Pelinka needs to be commended on more than anything, is that this team was going to be in hell after LeBron James. They didn't have salary cap space. they've mortgaged all their future assets to try and build and crumble a roster around LeBron that just didn't make sense. And now you're right. Whether they do or do not win or compete for a championship this year or next year or for however long LeBron is there, they now have life after LeBron, which is a solid foundation that you can build around Luka for the next decade if he resigns. And now that's going to be a huge talking point this summer when he's contract extension eligible. And if he doesn't sign that, it's going to be a massive story leading into next year. But assuming Luka stays, assuming they get a deal done with Luka, the runway after LeBron is the biggest piece of this puzzle.
Yeah, and I'd be very surprised if they're not able to keep Luka. How much do you think, like, let's say they get a deal done with Luka, how much does this extend the career of LeBron James? Because I was kind of thinking maybe this would be the final year or next year at most would be the final year, but now I kind of don't even know how to handicap that.
Yeah, I would not even begin to try and guess on when LeBron is done. What I think, remember when they got Russell Westbrook a couple of years ago, the optics of that was you were going to get a guy who's going to play really hard, is going to play every night and try and prolong LeBron that particular season, right? So he could save gas in the tank and go full throttle come postseason. That never played out. That never worked because they weren't good enough. LeBron had to give it all in the regular season. I don't know if Luke is that type of player, particularly with all of his injuries and the roster construction currently. Can he take his foot off the gas pedal? We're going to find out here over the next few weeks to see at what level LeBron's able to give it a go once the postseason comes.
And the other part of this story, too, because I know we focus so much on Anthony Davis and Luka, and now we just got the LeBron dynamic in, the future of Kyrie Irving. And I know it's not easy to predict Kyrie Irving, but I'll be curious how he navigates it this offseason.
Yeah, there's no question. I think Dallas has a really nice roster, and they've got some really good things going for them. They're just in an unfortunate circumstance right now where they've got so many guys hurt. Like, their whole game plan was to be bigger than everybody and to be more athletic than everybody. And that's just not working right now because their top three big guys, Anthony Davis, Derek Lively, and Daniel Gafford, three sensational bigs, are all out for a period of time here.
I love Kenny Atkinson. He's done a sensational job. It was nice to see him get some national pop this week after just blowing out the Knicks. Are the Cavs just one of those great regular season stories, or can you see them representing the Eastern Conference in the NBA Finals this year?
I mean, first of all, I thought the Cavs were going to be really good this year. I think I predicted them to be third or fourth in the Eastern Conference. I never in my wildest dreams thought they would be this good. What I have learned studying this game, the history, is that more times than not, you've got to suffer postseason defeat before you can advance. Kind of like what Oklahoma City went through last year. They may have to go through it again this year. It may be a multi-year process for them. I find it hard to believe that Cleveland, if they get matched up in a postseason 7-game series with Boston, that they will have enough with the experience, with the talent to get past the Celtics. I just think the Celtics are way too good right now. I understand in the regular season the Cavs have a better record. I just think, again, we're going to see Boston coming out of the Eastern Conference.
Let's say the Celtics get picked off. Who then would you say gets to the finals out of the East? Is it Milwaukee? Do the Knicks finally be able to beat a good team? Or would it be then the Cavs?
No, I would definitely go the Cavs second. I think the Knicks are a really good team. And if I'm a Knicks fan, I understand the frustration 0-7 against the top 3 teams in the NBA. What's surprising me is I understood that the Knicks wouldn't be as good on the interior defensively because they didn't have Mitchell Robinson with the injury, and Karl Anthony Towns is just not a good defender. But having guys like OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, and Josh Hart, those are 3 really good defensive pieces. Like, almost any team in basketball would want one, let alone 3 of those guys on their roster. I thought they'd be a little better. The defense certainly troubles me. If I'm a Knicks fan, though, listen, this team is begging for a championship. I get it. It's been decades upon decades upon decades of misery. I just think this is a building block process. The front office is going to evaluate where they are, hopefully make some moves. Now, they gave up a lot to get what they currently have, so they don't have a lot of wiggle room, but they're going to need to make some tweaks around the edges going into next year when I think they'll be able to start to compete for a championship. I think this year is a step in the right direction. Great regular season, but it's going to be next year for the Knicks where I think they'll be a real contender.
Do you think Thibodeau is on the hot seat?
No, I don't.
Yeah, I don't think Thibs is as well, but I just see that a lot of Knicks fans have been talking about that, obviously, with the weekend and the last week that they just had. Last thing I'll ask you, Jared Greenberg, when it comes to Giannis Antetokounmpo and Nikola Jokic, right? Both have won multiple MVPs, both have won a Finals MVP, both have won an NBA championship. Who do you think wins the next championship first? Would you go with Giannis with the Bucks, or would you go with Nikola Jokic with the Nuggets?
I would go Jokic. I think that they have a better roster. I think they have better younger players. And Jamal Murray, by the way, if you haven't been paying attention, he has come alive over the last month. He got off to an incredibly cold start to the season. In fact, he finished the season terribly last year, had a terrible Olympics with Team Canada, and then came into this year and just didn't look right at all. He has been sensational, and Aaron Gordon has been really good the last couple of weeks as well. Listen, Nikola Jokic is a special talent. If you're just a casual basketball fan or you're a hardcore basketball fan, please start being grateful for Nikola Jokic and watching what he can do. Like last night, the minimal amount of points that he scored and the impact he had on the game, 19 assists from a guy who's 6'10", right? Like, that's ridiculous what he can do to carve up a defense. However you want to try and stop him, he will pick the opposite way and beat you to a pulp.
He is Jared Greenberg. Does a great job, NBA on TNT. Catch him all throughout the season. Jared, appreciate the time. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks, Gelb.
There you go. Jared Greenberg right there on the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We will take a break. When we come on back, I thought this was like a fake news storyline, but it's not. Kirby Smart goes after Johnny Manziel a little bit. What year are we in? It's 2025. It's February 25th, and it's 3:39 p.m. Eastern time. So you know what time it is for? A Sports Flash with the great Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
And it's time for a riddle, sponsored by Progressive Insurance. What do your home and auto have in common? Progressive protects them both. It was an easy riddle. Learn more at Progressive.com. The Chiefs are hoping to get back to the Super Bowl for a fourth straight year and planning to do it with Travis Kelce. GM Brett Veach is making plans as if the future Hall of Famer will be back. In a recent conversation with Kelce, Veach said number 87 was fired up and felt he had something left. Browns general manager Andrew Berry reiterated today that he has no plans to trade Myles Garrett. New Titans GM Mike Borgonzi said he is open to dealing the number one pick overall and has already received calls about it. And the Bills have given receiver Khalil Shakir a 4-year extension. Hubert Davis gets a 4-year extension from North Carolina. Action tonight. The Heels are off after a win in Tallahassee last night, but second-ranked Duke will try to pile on Miami's woeful season. The Hurricanes are 6-21, while the Blue Devils come in at 24-3. And third-ranked Florida also 24-3 and will take on Georgia. The Cavaliers go for their 8th in a row tonight in Orlando. I'm Rich Ackerman.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on X. Our handle is INF Sports Network. That's INF Sports Network on X.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining.
3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're listening to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
All righty, welcome back in. It is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Mark Caboli is going to join us coming up live from Indianapolis in 15 minutes from now from the NFL Combine. We'll do some Steelers, also go around the rest of the NFL with him. And the Defensive Player of the Week is sponsored first, though, by the Navy Federal Credit Union, who proudly serves the Armed Forces, DoD veterans, and their families. Their members are the mission. Learn more at NavyFederal.org. And this week's player is St. John's guard Aaron Scott in Sunday's 89-75 win over the UConn Huskies. The senior from Texas had 2 blocks along with 3 steals. St. John's as a team had 11 blocks and 11 steals in the game and held UConn to just 26% from behind the arc. Alrighty, let me get to this audio. So I've seen it. I have not heard it. So I want to see if the headlines that I've heard kind of matches what's actually being said, because I keep on seeing that Kirby Smart threw some shade towards the direction of Johnny Manziel, and now I'll be the judge of that. Here is the head coach of the Georgia Bulldogs. What's that coming down the track? It is Kirby Smart.
What do these guys have in common? Heisman, it's a good answer. That's actually true. They're definitely quarterbacks. That's the most elementary thing. Heisman, quarterbacks, champions. He ain't champion. Champion of what? Champion of fireball.
So I kind of give Kirby Smart a pass. Now, I'm not sure who he's comparing him to. But it seems like they're at some conference or some one of these coaches things, and they're comparing one player to another, and someone in the crowd, it sounded like someone in the crowd is like, when he's like, oh, what can you compare him? Compare him. All right, Heisman's. And then he goes, it sounded like said championships. And then Kirby Smart, just the initial reaction is like, championships? What is Johnny Manziel won? Championships of fireball? Like, funny line. You're there for a crowd. I understand you're representing Georgia, right? And Georgia doesn't always do a good job representing Georgia. So does the apple fall from the tree? That I don't know with that football coach and Kirby Smart. But I kind of think that's a little tongue-in-cheek and more so fun. That's the way that I at least interpret it, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely fun. The four guys that he's putting up there, it's Cam Newton, Joe Burrow, Bryce Young, and Johnny Manziel. And he said, what do these four guys have in common? So
there's a difference.
Heisman, they all have Heismans. And then they said championship, and then that's where the Manziel joke came in. The actual comparison was that all four of them had really big games against Kirby Smart defenses. That's what he was going for. And that's
so you know what that is? That's a little dig at Kirby Smart, and Kirby got a little defensive. You know what? They're going to try to knock me. I'm big bad Kirby Smart. Look what I've done in my career. I'm then going to ding Johnny Manziel. That's how I cut. It's a little sensitive spot right there for Kirby Smart, if that's the way that you're telling me that this was actually portrayed. But anyway, whether the guy won a championship or not, just give me a player in your lifetime that you will always just remember in college football, and that he's someone that you'll never forget. Because, yes, Johnny Manziel didn't win a championship. With the way that he took over the sport, though, and the Manziel hype and all of that, and the rock star that was Johnny Manziel that ended up being his downfall because of the fact that he enjoyed partying too much and wasn't serious enough about football, that's someone that you don't need a championship, in college, especially with how the system used to be, where it would just be two teams that play for a championship, or you had a 14 college football playoff. Now we'll see how that appears years from now, because there's more access to the college football playoff with 12 teams and inevitably 14 or 16. But Johnny Manziel has got to be, in the last 40 years, easily a top 10, top 5 player that you will remember just because of the storm that came with Johnny Manziel. But my player is Reggie Bush, because he really has everything that you want in a story. Is he an athletic freak? Yes. Did he do things on a football field that I've never seen? Yes. Was he a dynamic playmaker? Yes. Did he win a Heisman Trophy? Yes. Did he win a national championship? Yes. Did he play for a big brand? Yes. Did he play for a big coach? Yes. Did he have another fun piece in the backfield with the quarterback in Matt Leinart? Yes. And then also, you have a story that I kind of just scoff at and I can't stand, but you also have with Reggie Bush, the Heisman Trophy getting taken away, right? Him basically being blackballed for 15 years from the sport. Now he's accepted back in the sport. Now he has the Heisman Trophy back and all that stuff. There's pretty much every twist and turn that you could take in a college career happened with Reggie Bush. So he's a college football player that I'll never forget. How about you, Samter? Who's your college football player?
There, you know me. I can never come up with one that really just stands out, but there's a few that I was kind of deciding between, like Desmond Howard with the Heisman pose, right?
Still an iconic moment even to this day.
And that season, it was very rare that we saw the defensive player winning it, and defense and special teams. He played a lot of offense. He was kind of like the Travis Hunter. That brings me to Travis Hunter is one of those guys who, it feels like recency bias, but we've never seen that before, and we don't know if we'll ever see it again. But I think the guy I'm going to go with is Barry Sanders. I was very young. I was only 8 in 1988 when Barry Sanders was there at Oklahoma State. He ran for 2,600 yards, 37 touchdowns, and added another 2,700 yards receiving. It was just absolutely ridiculous what this guy did. He averaged 7.6 yards a carry, 37 touchdowns on the ground. It's just absolutely insane. It's like video game numbers.
All righty, Stu, who's yours?
Mine is Tim Tebow.
Yeah, that was the one that I felt like we couldn't leave off. I was between Tebow and Reggie Bush.
Me
so
too.
Go ahead.
I think Bush and Tebow are mine too. And for Tebow, obviously he won the Heisman, had the 2 national championships, was always must-see TV. Wasn't the most gifted of throwers, but he made up for it on the ground and hitting people. And it was just such a great team, those Florida teams.
And that's the thing, too. When I think of Tim Tebow, the first word that comes to mind is heart. And if it's not heart, it's then passion. And also you have the cult-like following around Tim Tebow as well. But the heart and passion of Tim Tebow, I don't think I've ever seen a player in college, not the NFL, in college, want it more than Tim Tebow. Because to Stu's point, he wasn't the most gifted from an athletic standpoint. He didn't have the strongest arm. But that dude with the speeches and just the way that he would run through a brick wall was just obviously must-watch TV. And you had the mega brand of Florida with the Swamp and Urban Meyer, right? And, you look back at those teams and how many guys got in trouble. And, they have Tim Tebow, just the nice religious guy that's a quarterback. But then when you watch him on the football field, you would think, he's just an absolute savage, because that's what Tim Tebow was on a football field. It's a good list right there. I end up rocking and rolling, going with Reggie Bush as a college football player. I'll never forget. Stu goes with Tim Tebow, and then Samter goes with Barry Sanders. Alrighty, it is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We'll take a break. When we come on back, we go to Indianapolis, the site of St. Elmo's. The NFL Combine, as we will be joined by Mark Cavoli, who's there covering it for the Pat McAfee Show, and also does some guest spots on 93.7 The Fan in Pittsburgh. So we'll chat it up with the longtime NFL reporter next. We'll give you the lay of the land from the NFL Combine.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
All righty, welcome back in. Hour number 2 of our radio program. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. I just got an emergency text, and it says, you need to troll Mark Kaboly and keep referencing me throughout your interview. Let's see if our next guest, and Mark Kaboly, who's kind enough to join us right now, live from Indianapolis for the Combine, could figure out what Pittsburgh media member told me I needed to troll him all throughout this interview by mentioning the name of that media member as Mark joins us right now. Mark, any guesses?
It could be a number of them, knowing my history. I mean, right off the top of my head, I would say somebody like Pony, but he's so full of himself, he's probably not listening to you or not paying attention. He's too busy doing his own gig.
Well,
I don't know.
It is Andrew Filipponi.
Is it?
Yeah. Not only is he hosting his own show right now, but he's somehow listening to our show and telling me to troll you. That's some of a bitch, right?
Yeah. Yeah. When he wants something, like earlier today, he goes, text me, can I have Omar sound? He's real nice man. Now he wants to troll me.
Yeah. So we'll try to gut through this effort and gut through the mean text from our mutual friend and Andrew Filipponi. Let me start you off with the Steelers because I know that's your beat. A lot of people feel, right, Fields and Wilson, they're not trying to bring either back and it's going to be somebody bigger. Is that kind of your mindset right now with Pittsburgh, that they're looking for either to get a deal done for Matthew Stafford or go find a way to bring Aaron Rodgers there?
Yeah, I don't think either one of those. I think priority number one is Justin Fields. The problem is there's nobody under contract currently on the Steelers roster as a quarterback. So you got to be very careful of how they approach this. I mean, you can find yourself real quickly on the outside looking in and being scrambling for, of the leftovers, so to speak, of the quarterback position. So they have to finesse this a little bit and pretend to be interested in just about everybody right now until somebody signs on that dotted line. I think that it's Justin Fields that they want, but he's going to have other options here coming up. If it's the Jets, if it's the Giants, whoever it may be, that might offer him a better plan to go there, and he might all of a sudden say, okay, I'm going there, then you're telling Russell Wilson that, you were our plan B. You can't do that. So you have to keep him in the mix a little bit. If you don't want him, then you better keep these free agents in the mix as well, which a lot of them you can't even really talk to yet, I don't believe. Matthew Stafford, I just think is a little bit of a pipe dream at this moment. So if I'm a betting man right now, I'm saying Justin Fields is who they want. It's just a matter of just the Steelers offer him the right deal or give him the right words to make him come back.
Yeah, the only hiccup that I have on that one, and I agree, if it's between, let's say, Russ and Fields, I would go with the younger guy that at this stage of his career could have the higher ceiling in Justin Fields. But it's like last year, okay, Russ got hurt. They start Justin's winning games. Then they go back to Russ. A year later, you think that they're going to be willing to just say, okay, Justin, we're ready to just throw you in the deep end and see what it's going to look like from start to finish with him.
They had no really idea of what they were getting last year. At least they got a full year of training camp. He had a ton of reps in training camp, OTAs, and obviously he started 6 games to really get a feel of what type of quarterback can you work with him? Can we see improvement out of him? So last year they were going into it blind. So I think that could be a selling point to him right now as well. I mean, they're in a bad situation regardless. I mean, if it's Justin Fields, who's probably your best option just based on age and, pedigree to a point where he was drafted 11th overall a couple years ago. Other than that, man, you're going veteran guys that are going to be around a year or two. There's no long-term answer here. The only long-term answer you see right now is Justin Fields, and that's probably, that's less than 50%, man. That's like a scratch ticket of lottery ticket. You only spend $5 to get it, but you're probably not going to win anything. You might win a free ticket.
Well, you may have to spend more on this guy, but I don't think the payout is going to be worth it. Could they consider Sam Darnold as a long-term option?
See, I'm not going to go and say that anybody's out because I've been around Omar Khan long enough here in the last couple of years. Is everybody's in play to a degree. He's not going to last year at this point, right, sitting in this room right here, after talking to him, it was Kenny Pickett, number one. We had great faith in him moving along. 10 days later, they acquire Russell Wilson and trade for Justin Fields and trade Kenny Pickett. And all of a sudden, all 3 quarterbacks are gone. So I wouldn't say no, but I think the money, once again, is significant. And it's such a small sample size for Sam Darnold. And if you look at Darnold, you got Justin Jefferson, you had Jordan Addison, you had Hawkinson, you had a good running back in Jones, you had a coach of the year, offensive mastermind. I don't think the Steelers have that. So
yeah, to say the least.
Translate over.
Yeah, well, something they do have, Mark Cavalli, is George Pickens. Now, he doesn't get the ball. He becomes the biggest diva in the league, but when he does get the ball, he's a pretty damn good wide receiver. I know Omar Khan talked about his future today with the year left on the contract. Are you optimistic that they'll get a deal done, and what do you kind of think that deal will look like?
No, I don't think you're going to get a deal done. I don't think that's in their plans. Over the history of the Steelers, they've extended 3 wide receivers in their history past one contract. I think it was Hines Ward 1, Deontay Johnson 2, and why am I forgetting the
Antonio
third one?
Brown?
Antonio Brown. That was the best one of them all, right? And they did that, gritting their teeth in a little bit early, too, because they wanted Mike Wallace. So they don't really do that. I don't think you can go into this season because they'd have to have that contract done before the start of the year because they don't negotiate in season, and then that would leave him to free agency. So to get it done between now and August, I just don't think that's on their radar whatsoever. If worse comes to worse, he has a great year, you tag him next year, go the Cincinnati Bengals route. But I truly don't believe that they're interested in extending him.
And here's my question. Can he handle not getting that deal? Because we know he's never afraid to add a little extra fuel to that fire.
Yeah, that's the problem. As long as he keeps getting the ball, he's fine. As long as he has his 10 to 12 targets, he's fine. When that goes away, then that becomes an issue. But hey, did we really think T. Higgins was going to be that guy last year? I know it was a little bit different situation with the tag, but he was playing for his money too. Omar did say today that we had a good conversation. He wants to be great. I don't discount that he does want to be great, but you're year 4 now. You're going to have to start growing up a little bit. And honestly, when he was early in the year last year, I thought he did make that step to being an adult in the room. Then all of a sudden, it wasn't. So I don't know. That's the big question mark. That's probably one of the reasons, Zach, is why you don't want to give him the money.
And that's and I agree. I think it'd be a mistake to pay him now. I still think he has more to prove. And the Steelers, they need guys like him to reach their potential because they don't have a lot of offensive talent. I just wonder, is the juice worth the squeeze? Because even when Kenny Pickett was there and he didn't get the feet down, it became a problem. I remember that one game. I think it was on a Thursday night or maybe it was a Monday night. And then also, it's like how many times even Mike Tomlin, right, who doesn't give the media much, even he was visually and vocally frustrated with Pickens this past year.
Yeah, you remember the Monday night game when he had those curse words on his eye black. I'm sure that didn't go over with the very Catholic owners of the Rooneys. They never said anything publicly that they denounced it, but I'm sure he didn't enjoy that. And that's just one of many of him not showing up. I mean, he was injured for a month, and he showed up late to a Christmas Day game on his first game back.
Crazy.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing? Right. So, I mean, the funny thing about George is I think he's a very bright, smart, intellectual guy, but he just marches to the beat of his own drummer.
Yeah, to say the least. Mark Cabali here with us. So let me ask you back to Rodgers. I know you said that you think it's going to be Fields, but all options are on the table. Do you think Rodgers and Tomlin, because I think this is something that gets overblown a little bit, they couldn't coexist, they couldn't make it work for a year. I think they would be fine together, but is that like a serious question how Tomlin and Rodgers would gel?
I don't think so. Those two, I think, have pretty much mutual respect for each other. They've been obviously around probably about the same amount of years right now, too. I think Tomlin does like him. I think he'll play for him. I mean, I don't know if you want to go down that route. I'll take it. Makes my job a little bit more spicier to have Aaron Rodgers around. And
you'd be doing darkness retreats and ayahuasca. It'd be fun for you, Mark.
I'm not going in I'm not being like secluded in some kind of hole or something like that. I tell you that. Or what do you do? Make himself throw up or something? Whatever. Well, to each his own right there. But, one thing is Tomlin, he gets criticized a ton, at least in Pittsburgh. But the people say the same thing. The players say the same thing. I want to play for Mike Tomlin. I want to play for Mike Tomlin. I don't know why Aaron Rodgers would be any different. I mean, honestly, if you get past that first tier of, the Fields go somewhere, they don't want Russ, you're scrambling a little bit, I would take a shot at Aaron Rodgers. Why not?
So,
but he'd be in that later tier, though.
Yeah. Mark Cabali here with us. Great job, correspondent, longtime reporter for the Steelers. Now, obviously, working with the Pat McAfee show. Let me then just say one more thing about Tomlin, because you talked about the perception about him in Pittsburgh, and it is changing. Now, inside that building, I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon. At the end of last season, though, I said, hey, yeah, they got to find me a franchise quarterback within 2 years, or you got to win me a playoff game within the next 2 years, or I would get rid of him. I know what the perception is nationally and then also locally, but in that building, in terms of him coaching for his future, are we even close to get into that conversation yet?
I don't think so. I don't think so whatsoever. First of all, will you be able to see from guys who've been around that long is their loss for the passion of the game? And you saw bits and pieces of that during the Hard Knocks over what was it, October, November, whatever, December it was.
Yeah.
The guy still absolutely is a football crazy man. So he's not going to lose the love for it, whatever. But he does have one glaring hole in his resume, and it's not being able to draft and develop a quarterback. I mean, he inherited Ben, and he rode Ben until he retired. And ever since then, it's just been, it's questioning whether or not he is capable of, drafting a quarterback, even if they do get a top 10 pick, a top 5 pick for some crazy reason, if it's trading or whatever, or does he have that ability? Right now, no. And it's a glaring hole in his resume. I mean, it's not going to keep out a Hall of Fame or anything, but people are not happy in Pittsburgh with 10 wins anymore. Let me tell you that, because all they look at is the no playoff wins since 2016.
Mark Caballi, before we let you run, let me just get you a few quick hitters from Indianapolis at the Combine. Right now, what does your gut tell you with the number 1 pick, what Tennessee's going to
do? What I think they should do is I think they should go quarterback, man. I think Shedeur Sanders would be great right there, but I don't think he'll go there.
I think they're going Ward. I do. I saw Schefter say today that he doesn't think that Cleveland will pass on a quarterback as well. So, I think, Mel Kiper set the stage. He had Shedeur falling all the way to 7. I'd be shocked if Shedeur falls to 7.
I'm just curious of seeing where a guy like Justin Hunter goes. I mean, you talk about a freak. Where does he even fit in at? I mean, talking to Tomlin, and he obviously goes to all these things. He says wide receivers are a dime a dozen. Cornerbacks, hard to find. So if you get that guy and put him in as your corner, I don't know if one's too high, but man, just to take a talent like that, I would be very, very interested in just grabbing a guy like that, regardless of where I'm at. If he goes, let's hope he goes to Cleveland.
Yeah, it would be interesting. I think it was. Maybe it was Berry today who said, hey, we would view him primarily as a wide receiver, but also they would clearly play him at corner as well. How he's going to be used, you've been around the league for a long time. That's going to be a massive question mark because Coach Prime's going to be saying, hey, you should play him both ways like you did in college.
Yeah, but it's almost impossible to do that in the NFL. You have to be the top of your game just to be in the NFL. To be a star, you have to be better than that. Now you're just trying to do 2 positions full time. I mean, maybe what his coach did, Dion, and play 7 snaps on offense and catch a ball in the Super Bowl 30. But if you're giving me a shutdown corner, if you're giving me a Patrick Surtain, if you're giving me a Sauce Gardner, I'd take that over a Justin Jefferson. I think I would.
Wow. So you go more defense than the offensive wide receiver playmaker.
Maybe that's just showing my age. If I haven't grew with the times of the NFL, I'm more defense rather than chuck the ball around. So maybe they should put him on offense.
Won the Eagles a Super Bowl this year with that defensive first approach, especially with how they just pounded the Chiefs in the trenches. Last thing I'll ask you, the tush push, that has been a big story today with the Packers wanting it banned. I saw a few other coaches like Raheem Morris and Sean McDermott jump in as well. Andy Reid, though, did praise the Eagles' ability to execute that tough play. Where do you stand on the tush push? Because I think they should keep it.
Yeah, I mean, ask Buffalo. How dominant is it for Buffalo, who missed it about 5 times in their game against the Chiefs, right? You have to be actually pretty good at it. I'm sure you could tweak it somehow. Maybe just do it, but not allow the guys to push. Maybe just make it I guess it wouldn't be called a tush push right then. But it gets very boring, right? If you're playing for 4th and 2, and it's really hard to stop that. I mean, until somebody finds a way. I mean, everything I hear though that's not going away though. I mean, what else are you going to then make go away? I'll play that, talk about Justin Jefferson. He's uncoverable at times. You're going to make him like only run big routes. I mean, so I think that's the little issue there. So I don't think it's going to go anywhere. Hey, if you want to stop it, stop it. I mean, the Eagles are just fabulous at doing it. I mean, blame the Eagles.
Absolutely. Mark, hey, we appreciate it. Enjoy Indianapolis. Thanks so much for jumping on for a few moments.
All right. Thanks.
There you go. Mark Caballi joining us right there on the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. So how about that? Justin Fields, that was the big takeaway that I took from that conversation. Hey, all options are on the table, but he's thinking that it's going to be Fields with the Pittsburgh Steelers. All righty, let's take a break. We'll come on back. We'll do a little overreaction, proper reaction on this Tuesday. This is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Another NFL week is complete, which means it's another week to freak out about your favorite team. Which takes are truly crazy.
But sometimes a game can be so bad, it's almost good. You know what I'm saying? No.
And which are so crazy, they might be right.
He's 6'5", he's 245 pounds. He's probably a Popeye's biscuit away from being a tight end.
Zach lets you know in this week's edition of Overreaction or Proper Reaction.
Alrighty, time for a little overreaction, proper reaction. Stuart Kovacs. What do we got cooking today? Looking like a soccer coach. Who was the dude from, what's the, Ted Lasso?
Ted Lasso, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, you look like Ed Lasso there for a second.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
So,
you should only go mustache, I think.
Oh, I don't know about that.
You want to try just the mustache?
I don't know.
Have you ever gone just the mustache?
No, I have not. I don't think so.
All right.
No, maybe at another time. Maybe in the springtime or something.
Now you must ask me a question, right? Da-da-da.
So, as the NFL Combine begins, Ashton Jeanty is the clear number one running back in this year's class. Battling out for the second spot are players like ASU's Cam Scatterbo, UNC's Amarian Hampton, Iowa's Caleb Johnson, and the Ohio State duo of Tre'Veyon Henderson and Quinshon Judkins.
Tre'Veyon Henderson and Quinshon Judkins.
Yes, thank you.
That's a tongue. Once you mess one up, you're going to mess the other one up.
I was like, I'm not getting Judkins.
Yeah.
Overreaction or prop reaction, there will be more than one running back drafted in the first round.
Now, Cap is in here on the YouTube chat. Cap goes, I need the Stu Ted Lasso Photoshop ASAP. We already got the real thing.
We do, yeah.
You were him for Halloween. What was that, 2 years ago?
No, this year.
That was this past year? You were Ted Lasso?
It was McDaniel 2 years ago, the Dolphins coach, and it was Lasso this year.
Yeah, I remember 2 years ago, I was Jim Harbaugh. Oh, no, I was Connor Stallions. What the heck was I this year for Halloween? This is bad. I don't even remember what I was back in October, what I was for Halloween. Do you have any clue, Stu?
I'm blanking here, too.
I had to probably put an Instagram up on this. So let's see if I can quickly get this in the moment. I will go to Stu's Instagram page, and then I'll go to the tags. And let's see if I can find it. Oh, I was Scooby-Dooby-Doo for Tarek Skubal. That's what
right.
I was.
Our favorite pitcher.
Stu, you as Ted Lasso? You look awesome. You look great. All right, I'll send that to Cap. That way he could get it. But anyway, there will be more than one running back drafted in the first round. I think it was Daniel Jeremiah who had 3 running backs in his last mock draft. So I think there will be more than one. I'm going to be curious to see how early Ashton Jeanty goes. Mel Kiper had him going 6 the other day. He had him going 6 to your Raiders and passing up on Shedeur Sanders and had Shedeur Sanders going to the Jets. How would you feel, even though we love Ashton Jeanty, if the Raiders took Ashton Jeanty at 6 and passed up on Shedeur Sanders, who goes to the Jets?
You would have to take Sanders at that point. I love Jeanty, but it's just too early.
Yeah, I'm with you as well. And remember, we saw Bijan Robinson a few years ago, I believe, go 6. And then Jahmyr Gibbs ended up going 12. Bijan either went 6 or 8. I think it was 6. And then you did have Jahmyr Gibbs go 12. But there'll be more than one running back drafted in the first round, yes. And I think it's going to be Amarian Hampton out of UNC, dual threat running back. Jeanty, because of the injuries, we didn't see him catch the ball all that much until later on in the season. But I do think we'll see at least 2 running backs go in the first round, especially because it's all trendy too. And the running back kind of came back this past year with Saquon Barkley, and also Derrick Henry, and also Jahmyr Gibbs and a few other guys. So I do think we'll see 2 running backs go in the first round. That will be a proper reaction.
All right, so initial reports seem to point to the future Hall of Famer Travis Kelce stepping away from the game. But Diana Rossini, she put some cold water on that this week.
You know, I can tell you from just having a few conversations with people around the league over the last few days, there's definitely a sense that Travis is going to try to play more. I haven't heard anyone say, yeah, he's really struggling with what he wants to do. It's definitely leaning more towards that. That can, of course, change. This is going to be his decision only. I think they feel pretty good that Travis has got a little bit more left in him.
And then today, Chiefs GM Brett Veach discussed Kelce's future.
How we left at the end of the season is that he was fired up. He has one more year under contract, and still think he has that fire and desire to play. And, as far as I'm concerned, there is no deadline. I think we left it as he'd be back, and we're excited to get him back and get him going.
So overreaction or proper reaction, Travis Kelce will return for one more season and retire after 2025.
I think that's a proper reaction. I'm not saying Travis Kelce's feeling like he's 22 right now, but I do feel as if he's coming back for one more season. And Veach basically kind of opening up Pandora's box today and kind of just, dropping a few nuggets there. Because, wouldn't you think the player would be the first one to talk about this? But it's the GM. So maybe that's, Veach maybe saying he's uncertain what's going to happen. So let me just kind of put all the pressure on him. But if the GM is saying basically, he kind of intends him to come back, I think that you'll see Travis Kelce coming back for another season. So I'll go proper reaction.
Speaking of future Hall of Fame tight ends, Cecil Lammey of Denver Sports 104.3 reports that league sources told him that Gronk is considering a return to the NFL.
This was a real report.
I know.
New report or an old report? Continue.
So Gronk considering a return to the NFL and that he loves Bo Nix and Sean Payton in Denver.
Yeah, and marijuana. But I guess he gets that everywhere now.
Overreaction or proper reaction, Gronk can still make an impact for a team in the NFL.
He hasn't played since 2021. Think about that. 2022, no football. 2023, no football. 2024, no football. And you're telling me Rob Gronkowski, who's lost a lot of weight too, right? And he's still jacked, but he lost some muscle from when he was playing as well. He's coming on back. If he wants to be, Zach Ertz is still playing and, playing at a fine level. The thing that made Gronk so great and what makes him better than Travis Kelce was the blocking. Like Gronk could run through you. Gronk could drag 7 defenders into the end zone. But we all knew he could catch the ball at a magnificent rate, but he was a tremendous blocker. And I got a tough time thinking Gronk, if he comes back, is going to be able to block like he once did. So if you're telling me you want him to be a big slot receiver, yeah, I think Gronk could still play, but that's not the Gronk that we all love. That's not the Gronker. So Gronk could still make an impact for a team in the NFL. I'm not relying on it. I haven't seen him play the last 3 years. Maybe give you like 10 good plays or something like that a game, but a big impact, I'm going to say that is an overreaction.
So this year's wide receiver class is a little thinner than last year. It, of course, is led by Arizona's Tetairoa McMillan, who many believe will be a top 10 pick. The former Wildcat had 174 catches for 2,700 yards and 18 touchdowns over the past 2 seasons. So overreaction or proper reaction, McMillan is a better draft prospect than 9th overall pick Rome Odunze was last year.
I'm going to say overreaction. And at least the mock drafts that I follow, you asked me 2 to 3 months ago, he would be in the top 10. I think everyone would have him in the top 10. A lot of the mock drafts that I'm reading recently, he's fallen. And he's put up some prodigious numbers the last 2 seasons at Arizona. But I think he's going to slip outside of the top 10. So I do not think he's a better prospect than Rome Odunze, even though Rome Odunze, like everybody on the Chicago Bears this past year, had a down year. So no, I do not think he's going to go in the top 10 and is a better draft prospect than Rome Odunze. I'll go overreaction there.
While the Steelers' big question mark is what they'll do at quarterback next year, star wideout George Pickens is entering the final year of his rookie deal and is up for an extension. Now today, GM Omar Khan addressed Pickens' future.
I had a really solid exit meeting with GP, and I can tell you that he has a desire to be great. He has a desire to be great here. We have a desire for him to be great and to be great here.
So overreaction or proper reaction, despite his behavioral issues, Pickens should get over $30 million a year.
Not this offseason. Isn't it funny? You hear kind of what he just said. I had a great conversation. Everyone's like, oh, he's going to get a deal this offseason. And then Mark Cabali comes on with us. He's like, I don't think a deal's going to get done. And I basically don't think they want to get a deal done. And I don't blame them. Because with George Pickens, even though the Steelers need a talent like him to reach his apex, the juice isn't worth the squeeze with him. He's a good wide receiver. Hot take, he ain't Jerry Rice. He's not Larry Fitzgerald, right? He's not Terrell Owens. And I know T.O. had a bunch of problems as well, but geez, the way that he acts, you would think that he's getting 1,800 yards a season, and he's not. I know they haven't had a quarterback really during his time there that's been a great quarterback, but I would make him wait another year. So overreaction or proper reaction, despite his behavioral issues, Pickens should get over $30 million a year. Not this offseason. I got to see more out of him. I'm going overreaction there. By the way, if you had to take a guess, Stu, for McMillan, in the latest mock draft by Mel Kiper, where do you think, what pick, if you just had to guesstimate, do you think he had McMillan going?
I would say around like 8.
22.
Really, that far?
He had him falling to 22 to the Chargers. The wide receivers to go before him, Emeka Ibuka, 21 to the Steelers. You know, I'll just give you the tight ends, even though they're not wide receivers, but it's a pass catcher. Colston Loveland, 20 to the Denver Broncos. Lot of defensive players. Oh, we had Amari Hampton. That's a running back going to Dallas at 12. You know, to get back to what we said earlier. And I guess the only other name that we're really looking for is where did he have Travis Hunter going? And he had Travis Hunter going 3 to the Giants. So technically, 2 wide receivers, even though Hunter is a wide receiver in a corner going before McMillan. And he had McMillan falling all the way to 22nd. And think about how many years have we talked about receivers? You know, just as of late, like you have 3, 4, 5 guys going in the first 10 picks or the first 20 picks. You know, that one year, it was the Quentin Johnson draft. You had back-to-back-to-back. You also had the Garrett Wilson draft, you know, where you had a bunch of guys go as well. We've seen a lot of receivers go in the first round. I don't think this is going to be a happening year for wide receivers really in the first round like we're used to. But you were talking about George Pickens. Yeah, I said overreaction. You shouldn't get $30 million a year. All right, next one.
So two-way star Travis Hunter is entering the combine as a cornerback, although Titans coach Brian Callahan sees Hunter playing both ways.
Yeah, it's very realistic. I think he's a unique player that there's not a whole lot of other players you could compare what he's done. There's not many guys that have played that many snaps on both sides of the ball. And you watch his tape and you see his ability to play both at a very high level. So, yeah, I think anybody that you talk to about him is going to say the same thing, that he's got the ability to play both.
Now, despite Hunter's success, many have Michigan corner Will Johnson as the top-rated corner and a likely top 10 pick as well. Overreaction or proper reaction, Johnson is the better cornerback than Hunter.
Yeah, Johnson's going to get dinged a little bit just because he barely played this year. But I think in terms of the actual just position, like there's more value with Travis Hunter because he could play both ways and the athletic freak. But you saw what Will Johnson did in the big stage of the national championship game, even had a pick 6 to start this season earlier this year too. I think Johnson is just the better corner, but the better all-around football player is obviously Travis Hunter. So Johnson is the better cornerback prospect than Hunter. I will go that's a proper reaction, even though Hunter is going to go earlier than Will Johnson.
The 49ers are coming off of a terrible season filled with injuries, and they enter the offseason with big questions about whether to pay quarterback Brock Purdy, as well as possibly trading Deebo Samuel. As the combine begins, however, head coach Kyle Shanahan has chosen not to attend the event. Overreaction or proper reaction, it is a mistake for Shanahan not to attend the combine.
They never go. My question is why? Like, why don't you go? I don't understand that. What, you just don't want to talk to the media? Is that what it is? So I don't think it's like an incredulous mistake, but I do think as a coach or a GM, you should be at the combine. And I think there's some events you just don't miss, and this is one of them. So it's a mistake for Shanahan to not attend the combine. Once again, I'm going proper reaction there. And final one, what do we got?
All right, so tight ends, they've made a major impact in the last few drafts, most notably Brock Bowers, after the Raiders selected him 13th overall last year. Now this year, 2 players stand out, with Penn State's Ty Warren and Michigan's Colston Loveland, with CBS Sports ranking Loveland slightly ahead of Warren. Overreaction or proper reaction, Loveland will be a better pro tight end than Warren.
So here's where I struggle with tight ends. I think it's, for me, the toughest position to evaluate. I think Warren is better. I think Warren is also more athletic. And, right, they've used him as a running back. Colston Loveland, I just wonder how much untapped potential there is. Because where he was from his freshman season to where he finished, I know he missed some games last year with the injury, but I didn't look at him as great. That's the key word, as great as what everyone else kind of viewed him as. I just thought he was good. Warren was one of the better players in college football this year. And I think Warren's a top 5 draft prospect in this draft, either ranked 5th or 4th. Loveland, to me, I don't know how great he's going to be. And I've questioned that, even, you know, being the guy that's wearing a Michigan shirt today and roots for Michigan. I thought he was going to be this stud, right, when he got there in 2022. And I even had him on the show. And he was good for them, right? Good. But I didn't really see the stud greatness that people kept on telling me I was going to see. So Loveland will be a better pro tight end than Tyler Warren. I will go overreaction there. All righty, we'll come on back. We'll do a little mock draft 1.0 top 10 with between Stu and I. We will do that when we return. Update time first. Here's Zach.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Well, the talk about Travis Kelce's potential retirement seems to be just that for now. Chiefs GM Brett Veach said today at the scouting combine they're preparing for the future Hall of Fame tight end to be back next year.
How we left at the end of the season is that he was fired up. He has one more year under contract, and still think he has that fire and desire to play. And as far as I'm concerned, there is no deadline. I think we left it as he'd be back, and we're excited to get him back and get him going.
The Titans have the number 1 pick, and new GM Mike Borgonzi is open to anything, even dealing that pick. He said he's received a few calls but didn't reveal much else. The Commanders are letting defensive lineman Jonathan Allen seek a trade. The 8-year vet has a cap hit of over $22 million coming for next year. Washington saves $16 million if he's gone by June 1st. The Bills have signed receiver Khalil Shakir to a 4-year extension, and Hubert Davis gets an extension to stay at North Carolina through 2030. In college basketball tonight, second-ranked Duke is on the road to face Miami, which has just 6 wins on the year. Number 3 Florida goes for its 7th straight at Georgia. In the NBA, the Cavaliers look to make it 8 in a row in Orlando, while the Celtics have won their last 5 and are in Toronto. I'm Rich Jackson.
The Infinity Sports Network is on your smart speaker. All you have to say is play Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're listening to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
And this portion of the show is brought to you by Ethos Life, the easy way to get life insurance in 10 minutes, up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam, just a few health questions. Get your free quote at checkethos.com. Not available in all states. With the NFL world outside of the Niners and maybe a few other teams. I don't know who else. In Indianapolis for the Combine. Let's cue up a little football music. We will do the first installment of the top 10 mock draft. This is version 1.0, and my opponent today is going to be the great Stuart Kovac. Stu, you will take the odd teams, and I will take the even teams. So first up, we have the Tennessee Titans. Who do you have them taken with the number 1 pick?
So I don't see a non-quarterback going here. I know that's been rumored, but I do think it will be a quarterback. Now, whether it's the Titans or someone else, I think that's the question. But since
you could do trades if you want.
Could do trades. I think the Titans will. I'll say that they take Cam Ward, and the quarterback goes off the board first.
Okay, I'm in agreement there. I did think today that Borgonzi was basically saying, hey, I'll trade back a few spots and you could come up and you could go get your guy if you want. But I never know what to read into this stuff. So yesterday I said Cam Ward should be the number 1 overall pick, and I think he would be the number 1 overall pick. I'm still in that line of thinking. But then I saw Adam Schefter today on his own podcast adamantly say, here's what I know, that the Cleveland Browns will be taking a quarterback. So is that the Cleveland Browns are taking a quarterback because Tennessee isn't, and then they're going to take Cam Ward? Or even if Tennessee takes Cam Ward, then Shedeur Sanders will then go 2 to the Cleveland Browns. And that would kind of fall in line with all these BS rumors that end up happening because, right, Mel Kiper today in his latest mock draft right before the Combine, he had Shedeur Sanders going all the way to 7th. So this is what Schefter tweeted out. Of the many scenarios for the upcoming NFL draft, the one that makes the most sense is the Browns using their top pick on a quarterback. That's what he said. Even with that being said, and I don't like to doubt Adam Schefter because usually end up being wrong, I'm going to say the Browns end up taking Abdul Carter. They go pass rusher because the Browns are saying they're not trading Myles Garrett now. That's nice to say now. I think that will change in a month or two. So not that you're automatically replacing Myles Garrett. Abdul Carter still has a lot to prove, but I think Abdul Carter is the best player in this draft. So I'll have the Brownies taking him in at number 2. Alrighty, that leaves the Giants at 3. What do you got cooking here, Stu?
All right, I know people have said that he could drop to 6 or 7, but I don't think Shedeur Sanders passes the Giants. I just think it just makes too much sense for them to take the quarterback. I know maybe they might not think he's as good as a Cam Ward. Maybe they like Cam better. But if they're staying at 3, I think Shedeur does go with 3 to the Giants.
Just wondering, if I put Shedeur at 2, would you have the Giants take Abdul Carter? Would you have the Giants take Travis Hunter? What would you end up having the Giants do if I ended up taking Shedeur off the board there too?
I would have had them taking Hunter.
Okay. I think that's right. That leaves the Patriots. I don't know. Something tells me the Pats aren't going to take Travis Hunter. If he's there, I could see them going Will Campbell out of LSU. I could see them taking Mason Graham and having Barrymore and Graham solidify the interior of their defensive line. But I'm still of the idea that you take the best player available. And I think Travis Hunter, with how many holes the Patriots has, is the best player available at this point. I think he's the second best player in this draft. So I'll have the Patriots going with Travis Hunter. Next up, we go to Duval. What do you got, Stu?
So, yeah, I think they would take Hunter too. I think Hunter would be at 5, the absolute latest with the Jaguars. So the fact that the Patriots scoop him up there, I think that's a bit of a, they're probably a little disappointed, but I think they will go with Will Campbell, the offensive lineman. I think there's a couple other guys that I think we will talk about very soon in the next couple of picks that they would consider, but I think Will Campbell is the guy that they would go with.
So you're saying the Jaguars, that is, right?
Yeah, for the Jaguars,
okay.
Yes.
So then that leaves the Raiders on the board at 6. And I wonder with Stu, does he take Will Campbell there to kind of put the Raiders in a more advantageous situation? Because the best player on the board right now is Mason Graham. Now you have Max Crosby coming off the edge. You just gave a lot of money to Christian Wilkins as well. And, they do need a corner, so this could be a Will Johnson spot. They're not going to take a tight end because they have 2 on the roster. No. You got Brock Bowers, and then you also got the Mayer kid from Notre Dame. I don't think the Raiders would hate if they end up taking Will Campbell here, but you just took him off the board. So you know what? I don't love the wide receivers here. I'm going to go with Mason Graham here.
Wow.
And you just really beef up that defensive line, and you got 3 studs going after the quarterback.
I'd be absolutely thrilled with that as a Raiders fan.
So who do you got the Jets here at 7?
So the Jets, I think they go Tyler Warren. I mean, I think they would love to get a quarterback, but I don't think that's possible. That's going to be pretty tough for them to do. So I think Tyler Warren here makes a lot of sense for the Jets. Get a weapon for whoever that next quarterback is, TBD.
So last year, I felt like almost every mock draft had Joe Alt going to the Los Angeles Chargers. I think this year, almost every mock draft has Jalen Walker out of Georgia going to the Carolina Panthers. So I usually don't like to just follow the crowd. But in this case, I feel like if you don't follow the crowd, you're going to have a lot of egg on your face. And I don't like egg on my face. I like egg on my plate. So I will end up going with Jalen Walker out of Georgia. And that leaves you, Stu, with one more selection. You got the Saints sitting there at number 9. Just to reset, Stu takes the Tennessee Titans with Cam Ward. I go Browns, Abdul Carter. Stu with the Giants, Shedeur Sanders. I have the Pats taking Travis Hunter in our mock top 10 draft 1.0. Jaguars, Stu goes with Will Campbell. I have the Raiders go with Mason Graham. Stu has the Jets going Tyler Warren. And I just have the Panthers going with Jalen Walker. So what do you got here with the Saints?
There's a couple guys in between. I don't know if cornerbacks I think they'll go defense. I don't think cornerbacks necessarily a need. So I think James Pierce out of Tennessee kind of makes sense. They could definitely use that kind of beef up front, kind of edge rusher that James Pierce is. So I think he would be that guy you kind of pair with Cam Jordan, as Cam Jordan obviously has maybe a couple years left with the team.
So now I'm sitting here, and I had the Chicago Bears in at number 10. And when I sit here with the Bears at 10, do you maybe go a little offense? And do you take Ashton Genty? Could you go Will Johnson here and you have Jalen Johnson and Will Johnson? That would be fun. But I think that you need an offensive lineman here. And I'm thinking about the offensive lineman from Texas, but I'm just scrolling through Mel Kiper's mock draft right now, and I can't. Wow, he had Kelvin Banks Jr. falling all the way to 25. 25. So that would kind of be on brand there. I'll take him for the Bears because, all right, Mel Kiper has him falling to 25. I think in most areas he's ranked as the second offensive lineman in this draft, the second offensive tackle. So that's all I'll end up going. Kelvin Banks Jr. out of Texas. I do wonder now, and we could fade out the music right there. I do wonder with, Mel Kiper surprising us today, put an Ashton Genty 6 to the Raiders. And that was like an, oh my goodness gracious. Is this just a bizarre kind of draft for only Mel Kiper than having Kelvin Banks Jr. fallen? So let me go to another voice, Daniel Jeremiah. He had Abdul Carter going 1 to Tennessee, Cam Ward going 2 to the Browns. All right, so that goes in line with the Schefter theory. Travis Hunter 3 to the Giants, Will Campbell 4 to the Pats, Mason Graham 5 to the Jaguars, Shedeur Sanders 6 to the Raiders, Tyler Warren 7 to the Jets, Jalen Walker 8 to the Panthers, Mike Green out of Marshall, the edge rusher, his name is flying up the boards, 9th to the Saints, and then he had Kelvin Banks going 10 to the Bears. All right, so I had a good thought there. When I was scrolling, I couldn't find his name. I'm like, what the heck did I miss here? So our mock draft top 10 1.0, Titans, Cam Ward, Browns, Abdul Carter, Giants, do the Shedeur Sanders. Pats, Travis Hunter, Jaguars, Will Campbell, Raiders, Mason Graham, Jets, Tyler Warren, Panthers, Jalen Walker, Saints, James Pierce, and then the Bears in Kelvin Banks. All righty, we'll take a break. When we come on back, we're going to pay homage to a show that used to be here. We got about 7,000 cuts. I have a news brief sheet with 23 cuts. Do I think we're going to get to all 23? No, I know we're not going to get to all 23. But we'll give you a lot of sights and sounds, a ton of audio from a lot that's happened in Indianapolis. The media is not only eating shrimp cocktail, they're also getting us some good audio. We'll get to that next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Alrighty, welcome back in. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Let's not waste any time because we got a ton of cuts from Indianapolis. It's time to update you on some of the biggest stories in the world of sports with some audio. We get to a news brief, and we do so right now.
Time for your daily news brief. We get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
Longtime Bucks general manager Jason Licht obviously was not thrilled with the Liam Cohen departure and how everything did go down from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Here is Jason, though, earlier today at the Combine when pressed on the whole Liam Cohen situation.
I don't really want to go back in the past there. It's over. Yeah. I'll say that we have a lot of respect for Liam. He was a great coach, and he's happy for him and his family, and it's a great opportunity for him.
Would you guys? Is there anything in terms of like joint practices again with the Jaguars or Miami or any of those?
Well, everything's kind of on the table now. We'll have to see how the schedule comes out, but I mean, that wouldn't be a factor.
Yeah. Of course.
It's time heals.
Yeah, I think he's 100% right. Ultimately, like, you could be mad at somebody for leaving. Like, I had a boss once that was mad at me for leaving, and I left for a better opportunity, right? I was going from a part-time job to a full-time job with my name on it, and that boss was mad at me for leaving. I could tell it, but years later, you kind of reconcile, you reconnect, and you still talk because you're going from an offensive coordinator to a head coach. Now, the process, right, could have been better for Liam Cohen. Maybe the process, the way that I did it, could have been better as well. But ultimately, if you're either just part-time or you're just an offensive coordinator and you are becoming a full-time host or a full-time head coach, relating it to the situation I was in, ultimately you're making the right move. You're taking a step up. You're taking the next jump. And I do think Jason Light's like, okay, yeah, we didn't love how he went about it. We felt like we were used a little bit to get what he wants, but ultimately we can't crush a guy for leaving us as an offensive coordinator. He did good things with us in a year and now becoming a head coach. So the tush push has popped back up, and the Packers are trying to get it banned. Now, I respect the tush. Therefore, I think we should push the Packers away, and we should not allow them to try to take away the tush push. But this is Brian Gutekunst of the Green Bay Packers on the tush push.
I know we're not very successful against it, I know that. But to be honest with you, I have not put much thought into it. It's been around for a while. We've used it in different fashions with our tight end. Again, I think there'll be a lot of discussions about it. I got to kind of look at some of the information as far as injury rates, things like that to see. But we'll see.
It's kind of funny that Brian Gutekunst became the spokesperson today for the Green Bay Packers with the tush push. And just judging by that audio, it seems like he has no clue what's going on. Like, obviously, he knows the Packers want to get rid of this, but he seemed either as if he wasn't convincing or maybe he doesn't agree with what the Packers are trying to do. So more on the tush push. Let's go to Sean McDermott. His team couldn't execute it well in the AFC Championship game up against Kansas City Chiefs. This is Sean McDermott.
To me, there's always been an injury risk with that play, and I've expressed that opinion for the last couple of years or so when it really started to come into play the way it's being used. So I just feel like, players' safety and the health and safety of our players has to be at the top of our game, which it is. The way that the techniques that are used with that play, to me, have been potentially contrary to the health and safety of the players. And so, again, you have to go back, though, in fairness to the injury data on the play. But I just think the optics of it, I'm not in love with.
So what is the injury data? Because it seems like people are looking at it, they're saying, oh, everyone's getting hurt, but I got to check the data to kind of support that claim. I think this is a bunch of baloney. I think the Eagles are just so exceptional at this, and they're already such a tough team to beat that now they won a Super Bowl and people are trying to just kind of put a dent into the armor that are the Philadelphia Eagles. But let's hear more. Raheem Morris, how about your thoughts on the tush push?
I thought it should have been illegal 3 years ago. The tush push play, I was never been a big fan. There's just no other play in our game where you can absolutely get behind somebody and push them, pull them off, do anything.
So Sean McDermott hasn't got to a Super Bowl as a head coach. Brian Gutekunst, done a nice job in Green Bay. Raheem Morris couldn't even win the NFC South last year. So let's hear from a winner. Here's Andy Reid on the tush push.
I understand how it can go both ways. I think it takes certain players to be able to do that. And that's not an easy thing for the center. I was close to their center, so I know that's not an easy thing to do. My hat goes off to them for making it as consistent as they are doing it. Now, there are other things you have to look at. You got to look at the injuries that take place, or whatever the other deals are that they evaluate on it. But I mean, it's a heck of a play. I know that.
I'm pro tush push. I am. I have no issues with this whatsoever. I think this is a bunch of nonsense. The Eagles have run this to perfection. And also, if you don't like it, try to stop it. And also, just saying, oh, it's a dangerous play. So what? Every play we got to eliminate? Oh, what's next? A screen pass? Right? Where the blocking down the field and everyone's trying to go get the running back and the wide receiver. Is that going to be deemed too dangerous as well? I just think this is absolutely ridiculous. But with that being said, we're talking about a bunch of tushies. This does bring up a very important Zach Gelb Show question I never asked Stu, and I've never asked Samter as well. If you only had to pick one, you more of a, let's see how we can clean this up, a watermelon guy or a tush guy, if you know what I'm saying, Stu? Which one? If Pete Bellotti was running this board, this thing would be dumped already.
I'll go with the watermelon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Samter? What's your preference here?
Watermelon. No, I'm a tush guy. 100% a tush guy.
I had to clean it up a little bit.
There's a way you can do it that's clean without having to say watermelon.
There is if you just go along with it. Now some kid's in the car asking his dad, well, what's so funny about the watermelons I had for lunch, Dad?
I mean, seedless are we talking about?
What?
Are we talking about seedless watermelons?
Just answer the question.
Tush, all the way.
Okay. I'm more of a watermelon
I'll be honest. I thought this was, do you prefer tush push or brotherly shove?
Oh.
That's where I thought that was going. So that totally threw me off.
I always keep you on your toes still. So what do you prefer? Brotherly shove or the tush push? To me, the tush push sounds better.
Yeah, tush push. Yeah.
What about the buffalo butt push? Buffalo, because the Bills tried to do it. Buffalo butts.
You're just trying too hard now.
Trying too hard. Trying to come up with something for the Bills because they tried it.
Just answer the question. All you got to do is just answer the question. The ball's on the tee. You just got to make contact. That's
I was asking a new question.
Yeah. All righty. Let's keep it moving. I don't think the tush push should be outlawed here whatsoever. I think they should continue it. And Sean McDermott and Brian Gutekunst and Raheem Morris don't like it. Tough. Try to stop it. Let's go to Raheem Morris on their starting quarterback situation.
Michael Penix is our quarterback. And Michael Penix will continue to be our quarterback. We stood there last year and we talked about looking for that guy, and we believe we found him. And I got so much confidence in Michael Penix leading us into the future, and I believe our whole building does, and I believe our fan base does, and I believe our owner does, that we are really excited about that young man. Definitely disappointed in what happened and how we ended last season, but we got a lot of really good things, a lot of positive thoughts for us moving forward and how we want to go out here and try to win ultimately.
Yeah, okay, so then you get rid of Kirk Cousins, right? And Terry Fontenot was like, oh, no, we're good with Kirk Cousins being our backup. What do you actually think you're getting for Kirk Cousins? Because that contract is an atrocity right now. Like, why the heck would you want to trade for that contract unless you're taking a significant piece back? Ultimately, I think Kirk Cousins is going to get released, just like how ultimately I do think Myles Garrett is going to get traded. All righty, let's go to Mike Borgonzi. All eyes are on the number 1 pick with the Tennessee Titans. Mike Borgonzi, are you aiming at taking a QB with the number 1 pick?
At the end of the day, we have to make the best decision at this point for the Titans. And if we deem like taking a quarterback is the most important thing right now, then we'll do that. But we have to go through this process here. So this is like one touch point in the process. We've gone through the whole evaluation part. Now we're finally getting to sit down and meet with these guys and talk with them. We'll have pro days. We'll have 30-day visits. So we have to go through the whole process really to make that decision.
I respect the grind, and I've been one of those people that go to the press conference and you ask a very direct question. But you got to know you're not getting an answer for that. Hey, Mike, no one knows what you're doing with the number 1 pick. Are you aiming to take a quarterback? Do you expect an actual truthful answer there? I do not. Mike Borgonzi, are you open to trading back here in the draft?
Well, that's part of the strategy that you have to put together. Just like we're going to have a free agent strategy, there's going to be a draft strategy too. So we'll get together as a group and think through all that. But you certainly don't want to pass up on one of those players if you think they're there. And an opportunity to trade back. Depends how far you can go back to get that player. So to your point, there's a strategy to it.
So there's a lot going on there. You're at number 1. Would you be open to trading back? Yeah, but you don't want to go too far down because you still want to go get what your president of football operations said, or the president of organization said, is a generational talent. Now, is the generational talent a Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders? Could that be viewed that way? Or is it how a lot of other people view it as Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter? So one reporter just asked him outright, straight up, hey, is Travis Hunter in your mind a generational talent?
Mike, your president of Team Ops said that it would be hard to pass up a generational talent. Do you see a guy like Travis Hunter as that generational talent?
Yeah, I don't want to get into specifics on certain players, but there's certainly a few players at the top that kind of fit that bill.
Yeah. That's, he is, but I'm not going to say because then I'm giving you the quote that everyone's going to go run with and then put 2 and 2 together that we're taking Travis Hunter when we're probably not. Let's go to Mike Borgonzi. You know, there's a lot of Shedeur Sanders slander, which I just don't get. At the absolute latest, he's going to the 6th overall pick with the Las Vegas Raiders. And I think he'll go sooner than that. I don't think he's getting past the Giants at 3 if he's still available. But Mike Borgonzi spoke today about some of the critics suggesting that Shedeur Sanders doesn't have that strong of an arm.
I think he has plenty of arm strength.
Okay.
In some of the anticipatory throws sometimes make up for the lack of arm strength.
Right.
And certainly we've seen quarterbacks over the years that are able to do that because they anticipate better. And a lot of that has to do with field instincts too. You know, if a player has a really good field vision and instincts and have a feel for it to anticipate some of those throws, there's been successful quarterbacks that really haven't had great arm talent that have played in the league.
You know, he sounds like a little bit. He sounds like a more buttoned up Charlie Casserly. Just the way he said quarterback. Where do you think Mike Borgonzi is from, by the way? If you just had to take a guess listening to him speak. Stu, any guesses on Borgonzi, where he's from?
I would say Midwest. I don't know.
Let's see. He's just in Kansas City. You know what? I thought I heard a little Massachusetts in him. I thought I heard a masshole. That's what I thought I heard. You know, I heard a little Sully in him. He is from Everett, Massachusetts. Now, let's see where Charlie Casserly is from, because Charlie Casserly, if he is not from the Massachusetts area, he's from River Edge, New Jersey. All right. You know, I could see kind of with the way that he speaks, you know, hearing he's from New Jersey. So there is Mike Borgonzi, by the way. Joe Shane, do you regret not re-signing Saquon Barkley?
Yeah, I'm happy for Saquon. Obviously went on to win the Super Bowl, and we wish him nothing but the best. Always going to evaluate all the decisions you make, and we were at a different place in our build. And again, well Saquon and wish him nothing but the best.
Let's be real. You could say we wish Saquon nothing but the best, but there's no way you're actually happy that Saquon Barkley, or should I say Saquon Barkley, that you're happy that he won a Super Bowl. Now, with that being said, I need to defend Joe Schoen here for just a second. The idea of letting Saquon walk, even though Saquon had an all-time great season this past year, I got it, because you didn't want to allocate all that money to the running back position when the Giants are nowhere close to winning and you wanted to allocate those dollars elsewhere. If Saquon Barkley just went to the Texans or the Bears, instead of going to the Philadelphia Eagles, it's a non-story. Like, Saquon would have been fine with the Bears. He would have been fine with the Texans. Neither would win a championship with him, but he wins a Super Bowl, has over 2,000 yards, and he goes from North Jersey down the turnpike to South Philadelphia, and he just rubs it in your face. So that's where it ends up blowing up in his face, is because he went to the Eagles. If he didn't go to the Eagles, he still would have been really good, but it wouldn't have gone to this level, and that's the one thing that Joe Schoen couldn't control. How about Joe Schoen's thoughts on having the number 3 overall pick?
We've got a lot of work to do on, the number 3 pick. We've done a lot of work throughout the fall on the college prospects, but this phase of the calendar is, getting to know who they are as people, what the fit's going to be, and then obviously free agencies before the draft. So 2 weeks from now, the roster will look different. So we know we have an idea of 3 to 5 players, 6 players, 7, whatever it may be, and move back scenarios. You can do that. We'll also look at moving up if that's a possibility. So it's exciting time for a year for us, and a chance to make some change on the roster. And so we'll look at all different scenarios.
Now, could they go make a move at quarterback before the draft? Absolutely. I still think that they're going to be taking a quarterback with the 3rd overall pick. Eric DeCosta, let's get serious here for a second on these serious allegations against his kicker, Justin Tucker.
The allegations are serious, concerning. The amount of allegations are serious and concerning. I think we're fortunate that the league is doing an investigation. We'll wait as patiently as we can for as much information as we can. We'll make our decisions based on that.
So here's a few things that the Ravens have going for them. And this may not sound politically correct, but it's just the truth. So obviously we've done the whole Justin Tucker story, and we've heard about the horrifying allegations. Not that it makes it right, but these allegations are from like his rookie year and then a few years into the league. So I think not having it happen within the last 2 or 3 years, still horrible acts committed if they did get committed. I think that doesn't put that much public pressure on the Baltimore Ravens. Also, you're not in season right now, and it is in the offseason. And also, let's just call it what it is. And I'm not saying it makes it right or wrong. You're still a person, and you still, if you commit a horrible act, you should be held accountable for it. He's a kicker. I know he's arguably, I don't think he is the greatest kicker of all time, but he's arguably one of the greatest kickers of all time. If this was a more higher profile player, like a quarterback, a running back, a wide receiver, I think it's a bigger story in terms of the everyday coverage of it. Like, this story's not going away. The league is going to launch an investigation. This is what I said it's going to happen. The league's going to do an investigation. There's not going to be a lot of public pressure on the Ravens. And then depending on what the league says, they're either going to suspend him or nothing's going to come out of it. And if they do suspend him, then the Ravens are going to have to determine if they're going to want to keep him on the roster. Because once the punishment comes out, that's when you're going to have the big outcry, I think, from the public with this situation. I thought this audio was nuts. I thought this was crazy. This is from the Scoop City podcast. Listen to Diana Rossini and Chase Daniel discuss the Rams quarterback situation. There is a lot, and I mean a lot, to unpack here.
The Rams are comfortable with Jimmy Garoppolo.
They're comfortable with Jimmy G?
Well, Matthew Stafford's looking for over $50 million a year. We're talking 2 years, up to $110 million deal.
Can he get that?
Matthew goes out, sees that there's no market for him at the price he wants, and the Rams say, all right, we'll bring you back for $40 million. Don't you think that's a fair number?
$40 million is a travesty at this point. To be completely honest with you, from a player's perspective, I would retire. If you're offering $40 million, at some point you got to be like, hold up. Trevor Lawrence is making 53. Tua is making that much money. Dak's making $60 million. I am 10 times better than these. I'm a dog. I'm a warrior. Like, no.
So there's a lot there. Diana Rossini, first off, let's not bury the lead here, saying that the Rams would be fine with Jimmy G. I don't buy it. If Jimmy G's a starting quarterback for the Rams, all this positivity that I talked about with the Rams the last 2 years or so, right out the window. Goodbye, dunzo. You can't even rely on that guy to stay healthy. Then Chase Daniel. I agree with you. Matthew Stafford should be making more money than he's currently making. We went through that yesterday. But you saying if he could only get $40 million when the rest of the market basically tells him that they're not willing to give him because the Rams are letting him talk to other teams right now. If you then tell me, because you could only get $40 million a year, that's a travesty. And also it would be enough for him to retire and he would walk away from that. Like, what are we doing? Matthew Stafford, yeah, he wants more money, but I think he's also planning to go get another championship. So there's a lot there. That is just absolutely crazy. I told you this was a long news brief today. I even had the music.
Music ran out.
Yeah, I thought that was like the Oscar music for a second. They were telling me to wrap it up, and then they went right to commercial break. All righty, let's just do a few more quick hitters, then we'll get on out of here and get to the break. Andrew Berry, the latest on the Myles Garrett trade requests.
Understand the trade requests and everything, but our stance really has not changed. We can't imagine a situation where not having Myles as a part of the organization is best for the Browns. But we appreciate Myles, and like I said, we're not interested in moving him.
All righty, that's a fair stance. Let's go to Brad Holmes on pursuing Myles Garrett.
Those guys are hard to acquire, and it's hard to keep them financially. Again, we have one that's due for an extension, and so when you talk about adding another one, it's like, all right, can you financially add another one because you want to add the other one on top of everything else that you have, and that makes it tough. Probably not. Yeah.
So what was that again at the end, Samter? I know it was like off mic, so it was tough to hear. Did they say, so is Myles Garrett something you make that exception for?
Yeah, they said, would you pursue a high-level, not so many words, would you pursue a high-level pass rusher like Myles Garrett?
And he said probably not.
Correct.
All righty. So I've been saying the 5 teams for Myles Garrett. I've been saying it, I believe in this order. Commanders, Eagles, I think it was then Lions, Chiefs, and Bills. I think you got to bump the Lions down there a little bit, unless if Brad Holmes is like, hey, they're saying they're not trading him. I'm going to keep that information close to me and maybe make people think something that I'm not thinking. That could be a possibility as well. All righty, that's a news brief. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We'll come on back. I want to get to 2 more things from the Combine. And there's a lot cooking on Geno Smith's future, which I'm very fascinated by, and also one reporter's mission to just absolutely obliterate Kyle Shanahan. And I'm fascinated by this reporter. We'll get to all that when we return.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're listening to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
So I understand with the public nature of this job, there's a lot of times like you have to give an instant reaction. And sometimes when you're giving that instant reaction, like last year, Santa and I flew to Arizona for the Final Four. On the flight, Stephon Diggs got traded to the Houston Texans. So if you're walking off the plane, like you got to give an immediate take, right? You got to get that out there to the masses. Actually, last year, I remember because I'm going on vacation for the rest of the week after this show. So I'm not here Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I'll be back Monday. I'm going to visit my grandma. I'm going to Florida. I'm also going to spend a night or two in Miami with a few friends, go to my favorite restaurant in Joe's Stone Crabs. But last year, I remember when I was going to Florida, it was during a Rangers playoff game. And it was actually Game 6 against the Hurricanes, where Chris Kreider scored those 3 goals in the third period, had the hat trick, and they ended up advancing to the Eastern Conference Final. They ended up losing to the Florida Panthers. And I'm on the plane, and I'm like, I have the Wi-Fi, so I go, I could do an instant reaction video right now, but I don't know. There's something about the plane where I don't think you should be doing an instant reaction video, like giving a take and talking. I would feel weird. So I went into the bathroom. And as they call it on the airplane, the lavatory is very small, and I'm very tall and a large fella. So I was doing like this instant reaction video in the airplane bathroom. So I understand what I just said. But Stu, there's something that really just bugs me. If you're in the gym and someone's recording a video, or if you're in like a public place and you have someone with the camera up, live streaming. You know, it happened to us at the Super Bowl every day, Samter. And I understand when we're at Radio Row, we're like kind of like the animals at the petting zoo, and people are just taking pictures and they're recording you. but you have people that come up to you and they start asking you questions with the live stream. So I think there needs to be some etiquette. And I know everyone's trying to get content now, and everyone's trying to get a reaction now, but it drives me. But I was working out at the gym yesterday, and there's some lady who's taken like a full-on video of her at the gym. And I'm like, I'm in a no-win situation here. I'm just trying to do the ab machine. I'm sitting there trying to get a few crunches in. You have a good-looking girl standing in front of me, taking this video, and I'm like, I'm the guy in the background right now just trying to do my workout. So I got up. I'm like, nothing well is going to come from this video. And I just moved and I continued my workout somewhere else. But it annoys me, when people just record in public, and like you go to a baseball game now, someone's on a live stream and you could just be walking, talking to your friend and you have no clue someone's behind you with the camera in front of your face. So that bugs me, Sam. I don't know about you.
What's even worse is when they get upset with you for walking in front of their shot. Right? You're at the gym, they're filming, and you have the audacity to go to a machine and you walk in front of them and they give you a hard time. Hey, I was filming. You know what? Go bleep yourself.
Yeah, it's annoying. So anyway, Grant Cohn, who I don't know if I like, but I'm fascinated by him. I think I like him. Now, he could be a pain in the ass, don't get me wrong. But he's someone that is an opinionated reporter, which I respect. And we talked about him with Fred Warner from the Niners at the Super Bowl. I'm like, I just wonder, what's your thoughts on Grant Cohn? Because I'm fascinated about him from afar. And Fred basically said, Grant, he's very opinionated. He's very passionate. But what I tell people that have a problem with him in our locker room is don't give him a reason to criticize you. Because he's not like looking to criticize you. I think he is. But if you play well, he praises you. If you don't play well, he criticizes you. So he just kind of holds you accountable. So anyway, Grant Cohn is flying out of Seattle. He lived in the San Francisco area. I guess they had to go to Seattle for a flight to get to Indianapolis because that's probably not a popular flight to get to Indianapolis coming from the West Coast. So this is Grant's instant reaction walking through the airport after getting off his flight. Here's a little excerpt from that.
I'm walking through first class and I see Seattle Seahawks head coach Mike Macdonald and Seattle Seahawks general manager John Schneider just sitting next to each other casually, going to the combine like me. So I go to my seat in coach and I'm sitting there, we take off, and I notice this shorter, older gentleman with really white hair walking next to me. And he's trying to go to the bathroom, but the flight attendants are passing out beverages. So they tell him, sir, you're gonna have to go back to your seat until we're done. It was Pete Carroll, flying coach. Apparently the Raiders don't quite have the funds to send him first class like the Seahawks do with their personnel. So Pete Carroll waited and then went back to first class, not to use the restroom really, but to just stand in first class without a first class ticket. And he did that for an hour. He was talking to Mike Macdonald and John Schneider about God knows what.
So my favorite part about this, and it didn't even make it, right? Because we edited a bunch out there because it was like a long instant reaction video. He's just going through the airport with people behind him as he's just ranting about how Pete Carroll was on the flight, ironically, with John Schneider and Mike Macdonald, and Pete Carroll didn't have a first-class ticket. But there was one point in it where he goes, I'm just sitting in coach. You heard him say that. And then he goes, I have the money to sit in first class, but I wasn't spending it. Like, you're a reporter at the end of the day. And Grant Cohn probably makes a good amount of money, right? Successful career. But it's not like there's some shame about, you're in coach. Like, I'm flying coach tomorrow when I go to Florida. There's no shame in sitting in coach when you have a GM and a head coach sitting in first class. And then also, the genesis of your video is there is a future Hall of Fame coach who's not even sitting in first class. So I love kind of how you have to bring yourself into it from Grant Cohn. And then he goes at the end too. This part didn't make it. We'll get to more of it. He's like, and then there was, I don't know what Pete Carroll was talking about with John Schneider. Maybe they're talking about a Geno Smith trade. Just like the speculation from that was awesome. But Stu, my biggest takeaway is this. Pete Carroll. You sometimes hear the Raiders are, not as well off financially as the other NFL franchises. They're flying Pete Carroll to the combine. And I would think most of these teams, but then you sometimes forget that not everyone's flying private. I would think most of these teams would go private. But they have Pete Carroll flying in coach and not even first class when the guy that got rid of him pretty much, and John Schneider, and his replacement Mike McDonald are sitting there in first class. Your thoughts on the Raiders putting Pete Carroll and coach?
Yeah, it's not great. It's probably not a great look. Like you said, there's no shame in it, but just the fact that you have another team with their head coach in first class and he's not, it's
Now, there was a Seahawks team reporter that was on this flight too, so I guess all the Seahawks personnel was there. And he responded to Grant's video saying, in fairness to the Raiders, it was an emergency exit seat. And they also had an open seat next to him. So maybe the Raiders realized, hey, maybe first class was sold out. Like, maybe. That could be a Raiders issue. Like, oh, yeah, we got to go to the combine. We don't have a coach, right? They hire a coach late. So you got to have the name there on that, the actual name there. It's like just buy the ticket and then assign the name later. So maybe when they go, oh, Pete's going, we hire Pete Carroll. Let's go get the flight. And I guess he's flying, from Seattle. He probably still has a home there or something. So let's have him leave from Seattle. And then it's, okay, there's no more first class. We'll get you an emergency exit and also get the seat next to you. So 2 tickets that you end up getting. So you have all the leg room. And also, let's be real. If you could fly first class, you fly first class. It's a nice experience. I don't want to sound like Grant Cohn. I've done it once or twice. I'm sitting coach when I go to Florida. There and back on Wednesday and Sunday. But anytime you can sit first class, it is a very nice luxury. But if I'm not sitting first class, all this business class and all that, give me an emergency exit seat. Now, I don't know how I'd be doing if the plane's going down, if there's an issue. But at that case, I don't think anyone's doing well. But the legroom in the emergency exit seat, Sue, is unpacked. You don't even need the second seat next to you. Like, it's nice that the Raiders got him that. But you have legroom in the emergency exit seat. That's the best. And I want to say it's Delta. If you get their, I'm usually an aisle guy, but if you do a window on their emergency exit seat, they usually have the flight attendant sit across from you. And then there's not an extra seat there, so you get extra legroom with the emergency exit. Now, I think that is a premier seat on a plane. But how about Grant Cohn? That is reporting right there. Pete Carroll's not in first class. The guy that replaced him is, plus the GM that got rid of him is, and they were talking about something we don't know what they're talking about. And then he just threw out there, maybe it's a Geno Smith trade.
And he threw a shot at Kyle Shanahan, too, for not being there.
You know what? I buried the lead. You almost made me forget about what I teased, too. Thank you, Stu. That's checks and balances at its finest. And then he just takes a shot at Kyle Shanahan. Pete Carroll's flying and coach to get there, but Kyle Shanahan can't even get his GQ ass, to the combine. And this leads to one of the greatest bits, I think, in our medium right now. Grant Cohn not only takes a shot at Kyle Shanahan for not going to the combine, getting off the plane. If you go to his Twitter feed today, he's going to all these coaches' press conferences, and he's asking them, why do you go to the combine? So on his Twitter feed right now, why does Mike McDaniel go to the combine? Talking to Mike McDaniel. Why does Andy Reid go to the combine? Talking to Andy Reid. Why does, Nick Sirianni go to the combine? And Nick Sirianni, right? Grant Cohn missed that one, so he took the audio from my college talk co-host. Sorry, I couldn't say that for some reason. College radio co-host Chase Sr., who got the video. So Grant Cohn, if he misses the opportunity to ask Nick Sirianni, just won the Super Bowl, why are you at the combine? I don't know what else he had to do. Maybe he's talking to somebody else. He's not talking to Shanahan because Shanahan's not there. But he gets it from somebody else and reposts it. Sean Payton, why do you come to the combine? And here is the cherry on top of the sundae. He asked Dan Campbell, hey, Dan, why do you go to the combine? And Dan looks him in the eyes and he goes, to talk to you, Grant. That's awesome. So you know what? Grant Cohn could be a pain in the ass sometimes. He is very entertaining. And if you're on his naughty list, I would not want to be on his naughty list. Final one. Here's John Schneider. This is on Pro Football Talk Live with Mike Florio and Chris Sims on the future of Geno Smith.
Is there any doubt that Geno Smith is the guy for 2025?
No, I mean, Geno, we'll be meeting with his guys down here. He finished the season strong. He got banged up there towards the end. Really sucked it up. But like all of us, right? Like you have some of those decisions you want to have back. In totality, he had a really nice season, and I don't foresee him not being with us.
I think that could go either way. I think Geno Smith is going to be there next year, but are you going to get a long-term deal done? He's on the final year of his contract. Maybe you have to give him a little bit more money, and you got to sweeten the pot this year, but I wouldn't extend him that much further. I think the Seahawks have a good destination. I don't know if DK Metcalf's in the cards for the future. He could get traded this offseason, people are saying. Tyler Lockett is getting a little bit older. You got Jackson Smith-Njigba. You got Kenneth Walker. You got 2 good corners. I think Seattle is a quarterback away. They got a good quarterback, but they don't got a great quarterback. I wouldn't even say they got a very good quarterback. So with Geno now in his mid-30s, I would not be extending him too much advance into the future. Like if you want to give him a 2-year extension and then it's really a 1-year extension because you got some outs in it and you could allocate the money that way, you just got to bump up the salary for this year, that's fine. But I wouldn't get too crazy and giving too long of a contract to Geno Smith. All righty, this is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We got one more segment to play. When we do come on back, let's do some official predictions for Shedeur Sanders. I think we may start this as a bit on the show until the draft. We're just going to do a Shedeur Sanders pool. Everyone's going to give a prediction on where he's going to land, and we'll keep track of it, and we'll see who ends up being right. Update time first. Here's Zach.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
At the age of 42, it's the end of the road for one of the greatest ever. Diana Taurasi told Time magazine she's retiring and does so after one of the greatest careers ever. 3 NCAA championships, 3 WNBA championships, 11 All-Star selections, and 6 Olympic gold medals. She spent all 20 years of her WNBA career in Phoenix and is the league's all-time leading scorer. Travis Kelce isn't about to go out on his Super Bowl performance. Chiefs GM Brett Veach said in a recent conversation he had with the tight end that Kelce was fired up to return for the final year of his contract, that he felt he had a lot left. And Veach operating under the thought that Kelce will return. Scouting Combine, always a good place for conversations among GMs to escalate trade talk. And new Titans GM Mike Borgonzi said he's received calls about the number 1 pick overall and that he definitely needs to solidify the quarterback position of the Titans. Khalil Shakir gets a 4-year extension from the Bills, while Hubert Davis gets some support from North Carolina. First a new GM and now an extension through 2030. Action tonight, Duke is on the road at Miami, looking for its 25th win of the season. Third-ranked Florida, also at 24-3 on the year, going for its 7th straight at Georgia. I'm Rich Eck.
The Infinity Sports Network is on your smart speaker. All you have to say is, play Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining.
2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hey, this is Howie. And this is Nick. From the Backstreet Boys. And you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Oh my God, we're back again.
All righty, Zach Gelb Show, Infinity Sports Network. Let me play you this Adam Schefter sound, because we've been talking about it. And let's see if it matches what is the narrative that's out there when he talks about the Cleveland Browns and what they're going to do with the number 2 overall pick. Here's Shefty.
The thing that I feel most comfortable and confident in this upcoming draft is that the Cleveland Browns at number 2 will wind up taking a quarterback because they have to, because logic dictates that, because common sense dictates that, because they have Deshaun Watson, who you don't even know is going to be able to play again in the upcoming season. You have all the money invested in him. So you need financial relief and you need a quarterback. And the only way to do that is to be able to do it at number 2.
So I guess my question would be, if Cam Ward does go 1, does that mean Shedeur Sanders is definitely going to go 2? Because he basically just said they're going to take a quarterback 2. So does that mean Tennessee at 1 is going to take Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter, and then Cam Ward goes 2? Because I think Cam Ward's going to be the first quarterback taken. Or is that, hey, they're taking a quarterback, doesn't matter who goes 1, even if Shedeur Sanders is there at 2, they're going to take him. So that's the question that I have for Shefty and Adam Schefter. But let's go around the room here. Let's do the Shedeur Sanders pool, and I'll keep on asking people that come on the show where they think Shedeur Sanders is going to land from now into the NFL draft, which I believe is on April 24th, that Thursday night, for the first round coverage. Stu, where do you think your guy, potentially your guy, Shedeur Sanders is going to land?
I don't think he will be my guy, unfortunately, but I think he'll go to the Giants at 3. That's my pick.
Okay, so Stu, Giants 3. Samter, what do you have cooking here?
He'll definitely be in New York with the New York Jets.
Ooh, so you're trading up to get him?
Either I'm seeing so much stuff where he's falling to 6, falling to 7.
I don't buy that, though.
I'm hearing all these people saying he's not a first-round grade, that they wouldn't take him in the first round. I think someone's going to be desperate enough to take him, but at the end of the day, are you really hitching yourself to a guy that you don't believe in just because you need a quarterback? There's a lot of talented players out there that I think some of these guys might go with rather than like hitching their future with him. So I think he's either going to fall a little bit or the Jets might move up a little bit, but the Jets love him. So
that's how I think the Jets go get him. They got to go move up. They have to move up to get him because let's just play this game. For Shedeur Sanders to get to 7 to the Jets, these teams are going to have to pass up on him. Tennessee, I think that's likely. The Browns, uncertain now after the Schefter report. The Giants at 3. Then also, you're going to need the Raiders at 6. That's 4 teams. And only one I could confidently say are definitely going to pass up on him. And that's Tennessee. And the Jets are sitting there at 7. Like, Stu, could you imagine on draft night if Shedeur Sanders is there at 6 and the Raiders don't take him? Without even telling you who they take. At 6, you would think by that point, Travis Hunter's off the board, Abdul Carter's off the board, Cam Ward is off the board, right? Even probably Mason Graham is off the board. You would think at 6. But if one of those guys maybe are available, okay, you could maybe justify it. But if those 4 guys are off the board, Cam Ward, Mason Graham, Travis Hunter, and Abdul Carter, and the Raiders see Shedeur Sanders there and they pass at him, you're probably screaming and throwing things at the television, right?
Yeah, will not be a good night at the Stewart household.
You know what? Even though I just did a segment last how I don't like recording things publicly, all the time.
Yeah.
Now, this wouldn't be public. I think we need a camera on you, Stu, for the Raiders' reaction to the 6th overall pick. And I think I need to put a camera on myself for the 4th overall pick for the Patriots. And if Samter, if you want to admit that this was all an act the last few years, so you're not really a fan of the Kansas City Chiefs and your Jets are picking 7, we may need to put a camera on you as well. Are you ready to publicly acknowledge that you've thrown the Kansas City Chiefs to the curb?
No, it was never an act. I was absolutely a Chiefs fan. I've just given up on them now that they lost the Super Bowl, and I'm going back to the Jets.
So now you're going back to the Jets. So you're not open for business. You're not going to just go jump onto another bandwagon.
If the Jets suck and the Chiefs are really good fighting for another Super Bowl, then yeah, bye-bye Jets, let's go Chiefs.
Oh, my God.
I'll go back and forth all year long.
That's so obnoxious. So I will go with Shedeur Sanders with the Giants. So 2 Giants and then 1 Jets. That's what we end up having for the services of Shedeur Sanders, and I'll keep a running tab as we continue to ask a bunch of people on that. All righty, real quickly, I'll squeeze in Rob in Connecticut in just a second, but give me RG3 on the Dan Patrick Show talking about Tua Tagovailoa against Justin Herbert.
I said you can have Tua moving forward or Justin Herbert.
Who would I take?
Yeah.
Hate that question, Dan. Damn it. If I had to pick, I'm taking Tua Tagovailoa. I am. I'm taking Tua over Justin Herbert.
I know Tua has dominated Justin Herbert head-to-head, but with the injury concerns with Tua Tagovailoa, and I think the ceiling being higher for Justin Herbert, and both haven't won a playoff game yet, too, I think that Justin Herbert's going to go on to have the better career. I do.
Here's the quick question. I know you can't take away the injury history because that's what Tua's thing is, but just when they're healthy on the field, playing at their best, who do you think is the better quarterback?
I think it's Herbert because, A, I would rather have him because he's bigger, and then also I think he has a stronger arm. That's why I would go with him over Tua Tagovailoa. All right, let me end the show with Rob in Connecticut. He wanted to chime in on college players that are most memorable. Samter, who'd you have for your college player?
Barry Sanders.
Barry Sanders. Stu, you had Tim Tebow. And I also had Reggie Bush. Rob, what do you got here real quickly?
Zach, real quick, enjoy your time with your grandma. And I was thinking about Ernie Davis, and also I was thinking about Bo Jackson. If I could turn back time and give them the gift of playing in the NFL longer, that would have been something else, especially Ernie Davis. He never got a chance. He was the first Black Heisman Trophy winner.
The Express,
and,
yeah.
unbelievable player. But enjoy your time, and thanks for holding my interest. You're a crack up. I love you guys. Thank you.
You appreciate it, Rob. Thanks so much, and appreciate that we were able to squeeze in. I know I had you holding on long there, and 2 good answers, obviously, as well. And that will do it for this week's version of the Zach Gelb Show. We got Andy Gresh, I think, be on Wednesday and Thursday, or Wednesday and Friday. All right, so he's Wednesday and Thursday. So, and then you have Linnell Willingham coming up on Friday. So they will entertain you, of course, from 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern, noon to 3 p.m. Pacific time. I'll be having a lot of Joe Stone Crabs. We'll do the hash brown as well. Do the fried chicken there, the lobster mac and cheese, the tomato and cheese. A lot of good stuff there. Get a little salad, too. Try to make it somewhat healthy. The key lime pie as well. All righty, so I will be out until Monday. We'll be back Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific time. Stu Samter, everyone in the chat, thank you so much. We out. Bye-bye. Peace.